In the third year of our marriage, I got pregnant. My husband's white moonlight cousin pushed me down, and I lost the child. My husband stood coldly by my bedside. "You only lost a child," but Wana was frightened and nearly lost her life. A tear slid down from the corner of my eye. At the same time, a system notification sounded in my mind. "Ding, congratulations, host. The conquest mission is complete. System binding released." I urgently retracted that tear, and my eyes instantly lit up astonishingly bright. "Pei Jingheng, let's divorce." Pei Jingheng's face was full of disdain. "Playing hard to get again. Fine, you want a divorce. I'll grant it tomorrow. You better not come crying and begging me." He was certain I couldn't leave him. Little did he know this time I was for real. This lady ain't serving you anymore. On our wedding night, the room was filled with burning red candles. Pei Jingheng viciously lifted the bridal veil with the wedding scale, looking at me as if I was something filthy. "Wana and I truly love each other. I wanted to marry her, but you wedged yourself in. Shen Mingyue, how can you be so shameless? Are you so desperate for a man that you've gone crazy?" I tried to explain. This marriage was not something I sought. He didn't believe me at all. "If not you, then who? All these years you've been pestering me relentlessly, utterly shameless. Let me tell you, don't think just because the Shen family saved the Pei family that I'll be grateful to you. You stole Wana's position. I only feel disgust for you." 3 months ago, when the Pei family was involved in the canal transport case, I knelt outside Father's study for an entire night, begging him to save the entire Pei household. Father silently took out the iron certificate with vermilion script, and the next morning at court knelt to plead leniency for his political enemy, which enraged the emperor. Later, the Pei family emerged unscathed, and His Majesty, moved by my deep devotion to Pei Jingheng, decreed our marriage. I explained repeatedly, but Pei Jingheng only believed the answer he had decided on. Just then, a maid's anxious voice came from outside the bridal chamber. "Young master, Miss Biao's old illness has flared up. Please go check on her quickly." Pei Jingheng's face immediately showed anxiety, completely casting me aside as he rushed out. That night, he did not return. Spending my wedding night alone in an empty room, I became the laughingstock of the entire Pei household. Xuntao and Shahi wiped their tears, feeling it was unfair to me. I comforted them instead. "It is okay, it'll be over soon." The two maids didn't understand, and I didn't explain. Actually, I'm a pitiful transmigrator. I transmigrated into this melodramatic angst novel, became male lead Pei Jingheng's #1 simp, and got bound to the unwavering devotion system. I must complete 100 acts of unwavering devotion for him, otherwise I'll be erased by the system now. I've already completed 81 tasks, just a bit more effort, and I'll soon be free to complete the mission as soon as possible. After marriage, I humbled myself, showed filial piety to my mother-in-law, curried favor with my sister-in-law, and was polite to Lin Wan. I became like a spineless dough figurine, with no temper at all, extremely obedient. Pei Jingheng's eyes were still full of disgust when he looked at me. "Don't think that just because you're being nice and ingratiating, I'll give you a second glance. I will never lay a finger on you." My eyes brimmed with tears, looking pitiful and helpless. A trace of emotion flashed in his eyes, but it vanished in an instant. I didn't become disheartened with him because of this. Instead, I gave even more of my heart and soul when he casually mentioned the almond cheese from Lee's shop on West Street. I went to queue before dawn. By the time I returned, icicles had formed on my temples, but he only glanced at it and pushed it away. "How dare you bring me something from yesterday?" On his birthday, I went to great lengths to find the rare book he'd been longing for. But in front of me, he threw the book into the brazier and sneered. What a pretentious act. When he caught a cold, I personally brewed medicine and tended to him. He deliberately knocked over the medicine bowl, scalding my hand bright red, but he only said casually, "Can't even hold something steady. What use are you? Brew it again." Old Madame Pei advised him to restrain himself. If she goes back to her parents' home to complain, our Pei family won't be able to explain ourselves, Pei Jingheng said with certainty. She is madly in love with me. She would never do that. I indeed never went back to my parents' home to complain about my hardships, because I didn't want my father and mother to worry. This is already the 95th thing soon. I'll be able to return to my parents' side. But in the end, I still didn't make it in time. Father was framed and thrown into prison. I begged Pei Jingheng to help. After all, back when the Pei family fell into trouble, it was father who worked tirelessly to save the entire Pei clan. But who would have thought? He flatly refused. Your father has angered the emperor this time. How do you expect me to save him? Do you want me to drag the entire Pei family down with him to their deaths? As a descendant of the Pei family, how could I commit such a disloyal and unfilial act? I begged desperately, but Pei Jingheng ordered me confined to my quarters. The Pei family stood by and watched as father left behind a blood letter in prison and took his own life in injustice. Mother fell gravely ill because of this. I wanted to go back and attend to her, but was blocked by Pei Jingheng again. The Shen family is at the center of the storm right now. If you truly think of your husband, you should take the initiative to draw a clear line with the Shen family. That is the duty of a wife. In the end, I didn't get to see Mother one last time. On the 7th day after Mother's death, her belongings were sent to the Pei household, but they were delivered to Lady Pei's Yan residence. I rushed over in haste, just in time to hear Lin Wan's coquettish voice. This bracelet is so clear and bright, it makes my wrist look even whiter. She was holding up that mutton-fat jade bracelet, the personal item Mother had worn for 30 years, now dangling frivolously from her fingertips. Since Wana fancies it, Pei Jingheng sat in the armchair drinking tea, not even lifting his eyelids. Just keep it. No. As I stepped through the door, the laughter and chatter in the room came to an abrupt halt. Pei Jingheng's gaze suddenly darkened. Xin Mingyue, you dare to defy me. I raised my eyes to meet his. This is my mother's keepsake. His tone was dismissive. So what? It is just a bracelet. What is the big deal? Whatever Wana likes, even if it were mountains of gold and silver, I'd move them before her. Lin Wan pretended to hesitate. Cousin, forget it. This item is precious. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to accept it. She slipped off the jade bracelet, making a show of wanting to return it, but let go the instant I reached out my hand. Clang, the jade pendant fell to the ground, shattered jade scattering onto my skirt. I didn't mean to. She clutched at Pei Jingheng's lapel with tears in her eyes, the look she gave me clearly brimming with blatant provocation. Pei Jingheng's tone was flippant. Broken is broken. It belonged to a dead person anyway. Keeping it is unlucky. My body trembled uncontrollably. I suddenly recalled the day of my coming-of-age ceremony when Mother combed my hair, her fingers gently running through my long hair. My Mingyue, may you have peace and joy for a lifetime. And now, I couldn't even protect her keepsake. I slowly crouched down and picked up the shattered jade from the ground. A strange glint flashed in Pei Jingheng's eyes, his tone stiff. It is just a jade bracelet. Who are you putting on this act for? Tomorrow, I'll have Treasure Pavilion send 10 new ones over. No need. I carefully wrapped the broken jade in a handkerchief. Some things once broken are broken. Ironically, not long after Mother passed away, the court thoroughly investigated the case and cleared Father's name, but it was already too late to change anything. Now, there is no one left in the Shen family. Perhaps out of that pitiful guilt, Pei Jingheng's attitude toward me improved quite a bit during that period. But that year, Something happened at the palace's 100 Flowers banquet, and his attitude toward me took a sharp turn for the worse, loathing me to the bone. At the banquet, I sensed something was wrong after drinking that cup of fruit wine. By the time I struggled to hide in the east wing of Linhua Palace, I could no longer see the patterns on the screen clearly. I was awakened by cold tea being splashed on me. Pei Jingheng looked at me with disgust all over his face. Shen Mingyue, you've gone mad from being a living widow, and now you don't even want your dignity to actually use such despicable methods. I clutched my torn collar, my throat hoarse, unable to speak. Don't think you can tie me down this way. Even if you get pregnant with a bastard, I will never acknowledge it. His words came true. I really did get pregnant with his bastard. When I found out I was with child, I was in a daze. Everyone thought this child was my bargaining chip to tie down Pei Jingheng. Only I know he became my bond. Pei Jingheng is a bastard, but the child is innocent. But now, this bond is gone too. I've finally completed the conquest mission. I propose divorce without hesitation. Pei Jingheng looked at me with a cold laugh, playing hard to get. You think that trick works on me? My body and mind were more relaxed than ever. I'm not joking. You and Lin Wan are perfect for each other, so I'll make it happen for you two. I was being so reasonable, yet his face darkened instead, as if he wanted to devour someone. Fine. Since you want to make a scene, I'll let you. Don't come crying and begging me later. He swept his sleeves and left, slamming the door so hard it shook the heavens. Chunksing and Shahi both looked at me with worried faces. I didn't bother explaining much, just instructed aloud. Go to the storeroom and bring the bird's nest. And that 500-year-old ginseng too. My body is weak. I need to nourish it properly. Back then, Pei Jingheng said Lin Wan had a weak body, so the bird's nest and ginseng should all be saved for her to nourish herself, and I naturally agreed. Now, sorry, but my things. No one else should even touch them. After eating the bird's nest and keeping 2 slices of ginseng in my mouth, my originally weak body finally recovered some strength. Just as I was about to lie down, unexpectedly Pei Jingheng returned, his face full of rage. Shen Mingyue, where are the bird's nest and ginseng from your storage? Wana has been frightened and needs bird's nest and ginseng to restore her health. Quickly bring them out. If you delay Wana's recovery, I will definitely hold you accountable. I slowly lifted my eyelids to look at him. Those are my things. Why should I take them out for someone who has nothing to do with me? Pei Jing hadn't expected me to react this way. He couldn't help but freeze, then rage surged through him. That is Wan, not someone who has nothing to do with you. My expression was ice cold. She is indeed not someone who has nothing to do with me. She is the enemy who caused me to lose my child. My things, I'd rather throw them away to feed the dogs than give them to her. The veins on Pei Jingheng's forehead throbbed violently. Shen Mingye, do you even know what you're saying? How can your heart be so venomous? I couldn't be bothered to argue with him, Pei Jingheng. My voice was unusually calm. You're right. My heart is venomous, and your dear cousin is beautiful and kind-hearted. Under his stunned gaze, I smiled faintly. So, I wish you two a harmonious union for 100 years. Lock it down, Pei Jingheng stared at me with sinister eyes. Shen Mingyue, drop this playing hard to get act. I'll give you one more chance. Hand over the bird's nest and ginseng, and I won't hold today's matter against you. I looked at him expressionlessly, as if looking at a clown jumping around. I already ate them. Do you want me to vomit them out for her? You. A maid's voice came from outside the door. Young master, my young lady is trapped in a nightmare, crying out your name continuously. Please go check on my young lady. Pei Jingheng immediately disregarded everything and rushed to go out in a hurry. I called out to stop him. Wait. Pei Jingheng sneered coldly. Now you realize your mistake. Too late. I spoke in a calm voice. I'm just reminding you. Don't forget to write the divorce papers. Pei Jingheng suddenly froze, squeezing out a sentence through clenched teeth. Fine, you'd better not regret this. Of course I won't regret it. Chun Xing and Xia, his jaws dropped and remained open for a long time. Seeing their expressions, I couldn't help but laugh. Is it that surprising? The two nodded their heads like pecking chickens. Madam, you've never disobeyed young master's words before. You love young master to the bone. You said that no matter how young master hurts you, you would never leave him. I felt a chill hearing this. That was all in the past. Not anymore. I absolutely won't regret it. Damn system, it has caused me so much harm. A warning system voice transmitted in my brain. Host, please watch your attitude. I was stunned. I already unbound from you. Why are you still here? The system answered rigidly. Upon host completing tasks, the system only upgrades. It does not disappear. Your accumulated devotion points have been automatically converted to independence points. All skills and item permissions you've unlocked are retained. Hearing that I actually had points, my spirits lifted, and I immediately asked, what can I do with the points? As soon as I finished speaking, a translucent light screen unfolded before my eyes, with a clear layout, completely different from the previous interface, where I passively received tasks. Independent points balance. Yarlinim points below was the exchange list. My gaze quickly swept over the list, which was dazzling with all sorts of things, skills, items, and more overwhelming to the eyes. My eyes fixed on one item, Foundation Strengthening Pill, repairs vitality, nourishes the foundation. Exchange requires censure points. Can this treat my current weakness after the miscarriage? Yes. Without hesitation, I said. Exchange. Exchange successful, censure points consumed. Remaining points, Tisha points. A pill the size of a longan, emanating a faint medicinal fragrance and lustrous in appearance, appeared out of thin air in my hand. As expected, the medicine was instantly effective. Suppressing the excitement in my heart, I began to carefully study the system's other functions. Besides exchange, there were also daily check-in and lucky draw. I first completed today's check-in and received E-point. Then, my gaze turned to that tempting lucky draw wheel. The pointer spun rapidly, sweeping past options like better luck next time and exquisite pastries, and finally, tremblingly stopped on a square glowing with an antique light. Congratulations, host. You have obtained ancient epidemic prevention and treatment strategies. A yellowed ancient book with a fragile texture fell into my hands. I have some knowledge of medicine, and upon closer inspection, my eyes suddenly lit up. If what is recorded in this ancient book is true, then this book could be of great use. This crappy system doesn't seem as useless as I thought. I asked the question I was most concerned about. System. How do I earn points? The system's mechanical voice came through. Points rule. Benefit the people, and you can obtain points. Benefit the people, I repeated softly. Yes, promote quality crops to save hundreds of households from hunger. Earn points, prevent and treat epidemics to save a city's people. Earn points if you make this world a bit better. Because of you, your points will increase accordingly. Hearing this, I couldn't help but fall into thought, and vague ideas about the path forward began to form in my mind. The next day, I didn't go to pay my respects to old Madam Pei. I had just had a miscarriage and my body was weak, needing rest. Though in reality, after taking the foundation strengthening pill, my body had already fully recovered. But old Madam Pei sent someone to summon me, saying there was an important matter. I also wanted to divorce as soon as possible and leave this place. So I got up and changed clothes. Just as I arrived at Yan residence, I heard several sobs coming from inside. It is all Wana's fault. It was Wana who caused Madam's miscarriage, who caused Madam and cousin to grow apart. Wana will return to the Lin family now, and will never again affect Madam and cousin's relationship. Old Madam Pei comforted her gently. Silly child, how can this be blamed on you? You were also frightened last night. But Madam already proposed divorce to cousin. Old Madam Pei gently patted the back of Lin Wan's hand, her tone resolute. She is just throwing a tantrum for now. She definitely can't bear to leave Jingheng. Moreover, now that the Shen family are all dead, if she leaves the Pi family, where else could she go? Lin Wan lowered her head, concealing the dark gleam in her eyes. Hearing these words, my eyes were filled with coldness. They were certain that if I left the Pi family, I'd have nowhere to go. But they didn't know that I had my own cards to play. Once I leave the Pei family, everywhere will be an open road. I stepped inside, and their conversation came to an abrupt halt. Lin Wan stood up, her posture graceful and swaying, and curtsied to me. Wana pays respects to Madam. Yesterday was Wana's rashness. I offended Madam and caused Madam to miscarry. Whatever Madam wishes to do, Wana will have no complaints. I looked at her calmly. Then start by slapping yourself. Slap until I'm satisfied. Lin Wan froze, looking at me in disbelief. I looked at her with a half smile. What? Were all those words you just said false? Since you have no intention of repenting, why put on an act? In the past, I avoided confrontation with her at every turn, never embarrassing her in person. Today I seemed like a different person, and Lin Wan was stunned for a long while. Old Madam Pei was also momentarily dazed. She took the initiative to smooth things over. Yeah. Wan Er acted without thinking yesterday. She is also scared sick from it. You've always been magnanimous. Don't blame her. You're still young. There will be more children. I let out a cold laugh. I've been too magnanimous in the past, which is why a cousin with no title or status has been able to ride roughshod over me. Lin Wan's face instantly turned deathly pale, and in the next moment, tears rolled down her cheeks. Old Madam Pei's expression also became very ugly. Mingyue, how can you be so rude? I didn't give an inch. She killed my child, and I'm asking for justice. Is that too much? Just because of one sentence, that she didn't mean it, we can just brush it aside. This was the first time I'd defied old Madam Pei since marrying into the Pei family. She was so angry her face contorted. Lin Wan lowered her head with tears streaming down. Auntie, this matter was my fault to begin with. I'll apologize and admit my mistake to Madam. Don't quarrel over me. Then start slapping yourself. I'll watch. Lin Wan's motion of wiping her tears paused, and in the next moment, she covered her chest and her body softly collapsed. Pei Jingheng rushed over in quick strides and caught her in his arms. Shen Mingyue, what have you done to Wana again? How can you be so vicious? Lin Wan opened her eyes tremblingly, her breath faint as a thread. Cousin, don't blame Madam. It is me. It is my fault. I caused Madam's miscarriage. I deserve to die. Pei Jingheng looked at her, his face full of heartache. Wan, I forbid you to say such things. That child was nothing but a curse obtained by Shen Mingyue through despicable means, and never should have existed in this world. What happened now is merely the will of heaven, and it is actually cleaner this way. These words made my teeth cold. That child was indeed an accident. Now I'm actually glad that child didn't have to come into this world and acknowledge such a person who can't distinguish right from wrong as a father. Pei Jingheng turned toward me, his gaze cold. Shen Mingyue, apologize. I laughed in anger. Did you get kicked in the head by a donkey? Pei Jingheng looked at me in disbelief. So unable to distinguish right from wrong, distorting the truth like this. Pei Jingheng, those sage books you've read, did they all go into a dog's stomach or what? Pei Jingheng's face immediately looked like it had entered a dye house, extremely ugly. Shen Mingyue, you, look at yourself now. Where is there even half a bit of a noble lady's dignity left? Sharp-tongued and mean, simply unreasonable. I scoffed. I was originally the daughter of a crude military general, not worthy of your scholarly family anyway. May I ask, is the divorce letter ready? Summon the clan elders immediately. I want a divorce. This was my true nature, all these years. To complete the conquest mission, I've really been too stifled. Pei Jingheng seemed to have reached his limit. Enough. How long are you going to keep making unreasonable scenes? If you really leave the PI family, you'll just be a homeless, abandoned woman, I said coldly. No need for your concern. Since you and Lin Wan are in love with each other, I'll make room for you both right now. Expectation and joy burst forth from Lin Wan's eyes, but suppressed anger surfaced in the depths of Pei Jingheng's eyes. It was the kind of fury that comes when a plaything escapes one's control. Old Madame Pei opened her mouth, forcibly suppressing her anger. Mingyu Jingheng was just anxious for a moment. Since Wana knows her mistake, how about we punish her with 3 months of house confinement, then have her serve you in your courtyard? Serve. I cut off her words, my gaze sweeping over Lin Wan's instantly frozen face. So she can push me again, or poison my tea. You! Old Madame Pei trembled with anger. How could you, child? Mother need not say more. I turned to look toward the ancestral hall, either write up the divorce papers within 7 days, or I'll beat the Denwen drum to accuse the Pei family of favoring concubines over wives, harboring murderers who harm heirs. Lin Wan's sobbing came to an abrupt halt. Pei Jingheng suddenly clenched his fists. You dare? Try me and see if I dare. I dropped those words and turned to leave. Lin Wan cautiously stole glances at Pei Jingheng's expression. Cousin, looking at Madame's manner, it seems she is truly determined to divorce you. Pei Jingheng's face was gloomy as ink. Impossible. She can't leave me at all. For the past 3 years, he has threatened me with divorce more than once. Every time I cried and begged him not to drive me away, and he was certain I would do the same this time. By tomorrow at the latest, she'll definitely come crawling to me to apologize. But Pei Jingheng waited 3 days without me taking the initiative to submit. When he inquired, he learned that I had long since moved out of the Pei family residence and into a separate estate. Pei Jingheng made another harsh threat. Go tell her. If she doesn't come crawling back within 3 days, she won't need to come back for the rest of her life. 3 days later, I didn't go back. Whatever harsh words he said after that, I didn't know, nor did I care. I was taking inventory of my dowry and assets. Since I was leaving, I wouldn't leave them a single penny. But there were always people disturbing my peace. My sister-in-law, Pei Jiaojiao, came storming to the estate and immediately demanded, Shen Mingyue, what is the meaning of this? That set of ruby headpieces I ordered at Linglong Pavilion. Why didn't you pay for it, and even had the shopkeeper cancel it? Are you deliberately trying to humiliate me in front of my friends? I already bragged about that set of headpieces to the minister's daughters and the others. In the past, I'd spent plenty of silver on Pei Jiaojiao, but she had no respect for me as her sister-in-law, and instead took it all for granted. Now, I wouldn't indulge her anymore. The headpieces you ordered, why should I pay for them? Are all you Pei family people this shameless? Pei Jiaojiao was stunned at first, then flew into a rage. How dare you speak to me like this? I'm definitely going to tell my brother on you. This was her trump card. As long as she brought up Pei Jingheng, I would inevitably obey. But this time she miscalculated. My tone was indifferent. Be my guest. Pei Jiaojiao glared at me in disbelief. Have you gone crazy? I'm going to tell my brother right now. He'll definitely be even more disgusted with you. I looked at her with amusement. Don't you know that I'm divorcing your brother? Why would I care whether he is disgusted with me or not? Pei Jiaojiao didn't believe it at all. Impossible. You've always stuck to my brother like a plaster. How could you bear to divorce? We'll see then, Shentao. See the guest out. Seeing that I was impervious to persuasion, Pei Jiao Jiao stomped her foot hard. I'm waiting for the day you come back crying and begging me for forgiveness. Originally, Xuntao and Shahi were also worried I would have a change of heart. But now, seeing my resolute attitude, they immediately felt relieved. The two became even more diligent in cataloguing the assets, hoping that I could make a clean break with the Pei family as soon as possible. But I didn't expect the Pei family to be such persistent pests. Just after sending off Pei Jiao Jiao, another plague god arrived the next day. Pei Jingheng opened his mouth to interrogate me. What did you say to Jiao Jiao? You made her cry. My face was full of annoyance. I merely told her a simple truth. Whoever wants something pays for it. What, in your Pei family's upbringing, were you never taught this? So much so that she can't even grasp such a simple principle and needs to have a good cry to liven things up. Veins bulged on Pei Jingheng's forehead. Shen Mingyue. Even if you want to make a scene, know when to stop. I looked at him indifferently. You think I'm joking? Pei Jingheng had a self-righteous attitude. You're putting on all this act just to force me to come pick you up myself, aren't you? Now that I'm here, how long are you going to keep up this pretense? In the past, with a crook of his finger, I would willingly bow my head this time. He was certain I would do the same. I had no patience for his nagging. If you came today to deliver divorce papers, you're most welcome. But if you're here to stand up for that dear sister of yours, the door's over there. I won't see you out. Suppressing his anger, he said through gritted teeth, You want a divorce, dream on. You're a Pei family person in life, and a Pei family ghost in death. I sneered coldly. As if your shabby Pei family temple is worthy. I directly had people throw him out. Pei Jingheng's face turned green with rage. Shen Mingyue, don't you regret this? Of course I wouldn't regret it. Leaving him, I'd only be happy enough to set off firecrackers in celebration. I called out loudly, Put up a sign at the entrance, Pei family members and dogs, no entry. A voice laced with laughter came. What did the dog ever do wrong? It is being dragged into this for nothing. Hearing the voice, my eyes instantly burst with delighted light. Lingxi. The visitor was none other than the only daughter of the current dynasty's eldest princess, Li Lingxi. In our childhood, we once suffered disaster together. I risked my life to help her escape. And since then, we became good friends. She wore a fiery red riding outfit, bright as flames, and walked in with vigorous strides. Quick, tell me, did the sun rise from the west today? You actually moved out of that wolf's den and kicked your precious husband out the door. She'd always despised Pei Jingheng and hated even more my humble attitude in the past. Now that she knew I'd turned over a new leaf, her eyes were full of satisfaction. I took her hand, my tone sincere. Soon he won't be my husband anymore. I'm going to divorce him. Li Lingxi's eyes nearly popped out. She reached out to touch my forehead, but I brushed her hand away with a smile, my gaze clear and bright. I'm serious. These dust-covered eyes have finally been wiped clean. Confirming I was serious. Li Lingxi was so happy she nearly jumped up, slapping me hard. Good. Good, you've finally seen the light and are willing to crawl out of that cesspit. I've been saying all along that family of theirs. Quick-tongued as ever, she cursed out the entire PI family, from top to bottom. She didn't stay long, having to rush to the palace. Seeing her face show signs of anxiety, I asked about it. She leaned in closer, lowering her voice with a hint of worry. It is cousin the Crown Prince. His condition isn't good. They say he has been poisoned. The Crown Prince has been poisoned. My heart skipped a beat. That highness had an excellent reputation, and back when father was framed before the emperor, he had stepped in to help. I've always remembered that favor after a moment's thought. I calmed my mind and silently called out to the system in my head. System, do you have any antidote pills? Returning to host, there is a universal antidote pill, requires Tisha points. That expensive. The system's tone was proud. This system's antidote pill can cure 100 poisons, worth every penny. Hearing this, I gritted my teeth and still exchanged for it. Exchanged one universal antidote pill, spent Tisha points, current point balance, lean points. Points accumulated over several years, all spent in just a few days. I couldn't care about the pain and quickly stuffed the small porcelain bottle in my hand into Li Lingxi's hands, saying in a low voice, "Inside this is a detoxification pill that can cure 100 poisons. If you trust me, give it to His Highness the Crown Prince to take." A trace of surprise flashed through Li Lingxi's eyes, which then turned into complete trust. She gripped the porcelain bottle tightly. "Mingye, if it is something from you, I trust it. I will definitely find a way to get my cousin to use it." Li Lingxi hurriedly left, and I began studying those unlocked medical books on the system's light screen. My points are gone. I got to quickly figure out a way to earn more. Just as I was deeply absorbed in reading, a familiar mechanical voice sounded in my mind. Ding! Detected that the host successfully treated this dynasty's crown prince, resolved the dynasty's crisis, and stabilized the nation's foundation. Ward independent points, Item Wubai. Current point balance, Item Wubai points, 1,500 points. I was so shocked I could barely speak, system. I asked in disbelief. I can get this many points just from saving one person. You have to understand, during those years I was a simp. I worked myself to death and only earned less than 100 points. Points are based on the target's influence on the masses. The Crown Prince bears the fate of the nation. Saving him alone prevents the turmoil and warfare that countless common people might have suffered. The merit far exceeds the ordinary. I see. Now I didn't feel the least bit bad about it. Only felt this deal was extremely worthwhile. Li Lingxi hurried over, her eyes full of joy. "Mingye, you're amazing. After Crown Prince cousin took that antidote pill you gave him, he immediately got better. Where did you get it? How could you have such divine powers?" I vaguely replied, "This was left behind by my father." Li Lingxi believed me when she heard this, and I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. With this successful precedent, I developed a strong interest in the system, frequently pulling up the system interface to study it whenever I had time, while also thinking about how to continue accumulating points next. Just as I was focusing on my research, an uninvited guest arrived at the villa again. This time it was Lin Wan who came. I had no guards here, so she forced her way in with her people, and Shuntao and the others couldn't stop her. She looked at me, her face full of smugness. "Shen Mingye, how does it feel to be a homeless dog?" Without waiting for me to speak, she continued leisurely. "I came here this time because I have some news to tell you." She touched her belly. "I'm pregnant with cousin's child. Cousin has already agreed to marry me as an equal wife." After saying this, she kept staring at me, wanting to see my expression change drastically. But I just let out a scornful laugh. "What kind of ridiculous joke am I hearing, equal wife? Isn't that just a concubine? You two claim to be truly in love, devoted without regret, and Pei Jingheng is just giving you this to brush you off." The smugness on Lin Wan's face froze. Then she became embarrassed and angry. "What are you so smug about? If cousin weren't concerned about his official reputation, he would have divorced you long ago. Cousin also said he is handing over all the household management to me. From now on, you'll just be a decoration in the Pei household." Thinking about that mess of the Pei family, I just laughed outright. All these years, the Pei family's grand reputation has only been sustained by my dowry. Now that I'm gone, the Pei family has found another sucker in Lin Wan, and she is still so happy about it. It is truly laughable. "Then let me congratulate you in advance," Lin Wan said with certainty. "You must be very upset right now, aren't you?" I sighed softly. "I'm so upset I'm about to laugh out loud." Lin Wan grew even more smug. I just can't stand that high and mighty attitude you used to have. What is so great about being the daughter of the general of pacifying the North? When it comes down to it, haven't you become a lonely orphan with no one to depend on? Shen Mingye. From now on, you're just my defeated opponent, only able to make a living under my thumb. Having declared her dominance, she walked away with her nose in the air. Shuntao and Shahi both cried from anger. Young master is really too much. Mistreated young master with such genuine devotion, but in the end it was all wrongly placed. I don't have time to feel sad. I need to figure out a way to make Pei Jinghang obediently agree to the separation and get back all the dowry that belongs to me. As dusk gradually fell, the sound of carriages and horses rang out again outside the separate courtyard. Chuntao hurried in to report, "Miss, a guest has arrived." I didn't even look up. Who is it this time? Drive out anyone unrelated. There was a note of joy in Chintao's, "Miss, it is Lord Gu and old Madame Gu here to see you." Upon hearing this, I immediately looked up, surprise bursting from my eyes. I immediately went out to greet them. "Grandmother, uncle, my year." Her ice-cold hands gripped mine tightly, teardrops rolling down the furrows of her face. "The Pei family, how dare they bully you like this? This is simply going too far." Looking at the tears on grandmother's face, my eyes also involuntarily grew sore. My eldest uncle Gwenhai looked at me with some reproach. "Such a huge incident happened. Why didn't you send someone to inform the Gu family? If we hadn't heard that Pei Jingheng was taking a co-wife, we still wouldn't know about the grievances you've suffered." I suppressed the bitterness and emotion in my heart. I can handle this matter myself. Grandmother covered her chest with a handkerchief and coughed for quite a while, then said decisively, "Divorce, a wolf's den like the Pei family. It is better not to stay there. From now on, the Giyu family is your maternal home." I gently wiped the tears from the corner of the old woman's eyes with my fingertips. "Grandmother, I was already planning to divorce." "Good, good." She patted the back of my hand repeatedly. "We won't suffer this humiliation." I looked at Gu Wenhai. "Uncle, there is something I need to trouble you with." Ju Wenhai immediately said, "What do you mean trouble? Just speak freely." "In a few days, the Pei family will be holding a celebration. I'd like to ask Uncle to bring a few uncles from the censorate to have a cup of celebratory wine. What belongs to me, it is time to take it back." The Pei residence was decorated with lanterns and festoons, guests filling the entrance. I stood outside the vermilion main gate of the PI residence, listening to the jubilant music coming from inside, a smile curling at the corner of my lips. The good show would begin soon. I raised my hand, and the well-trained servants in blue behind me immediately beat gongs and drums, carrying chests tied with red silk, and barged straight into the wedding hall. The chattering and laughter of the hall full of guests came to an abrupt halt. All eyes fell on me. Astonished, pitying, curious. I ignored those gazes and walked step by step to the center of the wedding hall, meeting eyes with Pei Jingheng in his bright red wedding robes. When Pei Jingheng saw me, the corners of his lips lifted briefly. "So you're finally willing to come back, but it is already too late. I've decided to marry my cousin, and I will never change my mind." I laughed inwardly. This man was still the same as always, full of himself. "Don't misunderstand. I'm not here to stop you, but to present wedding gifts to the newlyweds." I raised my hand to signal, and someone unfurled a huge ledger. The announcer's voice boomed like a bell. "This first gift is the Pei household expense record. Young Mistress Shen congratulates young Master Pei and his new bride on their joyous occasion, and hereby publicly presents the account of household expenses she advanced on their behalf over the past 3 years. May the Pei household henceforth have clear accounts and no longer need the new bride's dowry to fill their deficits." The scroll was densely packed. From the top, Pei Jingheng's career gifts of winter coal and summer ice money, down to the monthly rouge and powder for the Pei family women, openly listing the Four Seasons clothing for the entire household and festival purchases, and secretly including the principal old Madame Pei loaned out for usury. All in all, item by item, entry by entry. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the Pei family's glamorous facade was stripped completely bare. The guests immediately erupted in an uproar, whispers surging like a tide. The second gift, returning the jade intact to Zhao. A brocade box was opened, containing several slightly worn men's items, a jade pendant of ordinary quality, and a wolf hair brush whose tip had gone bald. Young Madame Shen congratulates young Master Pei on finding true love, and hereby returns the tokens of affection from the past. May your love be mutual, henceforth untainted by the stench of money and uninvolved in schemes. Over the past 3 years, Pei Jingheng had only given me these 2 things, yet I treasured them like precious jewels. Now that I think about it, it is truly laughable. The third gift, a healer's benevolent heart. A package of fine medicinal herbs was presented. Young Madame Shen, mindful of her own frail health from miscarriage, specially gifts quality medicine to Miss Lin. May she carefully nurture her pregnancy and not be like young Madame, whose treatment was delayed due to another's heart palpitations, ultimately losing her child. As soon as the announcement ended, the scene immediately erupted into an uproar. Several imperial censors invited by Guiyu Wenhai angrily denounced Pei Jingheng for disgracing scholars and left in indignation. It was foreseeable what kind of impeachment Pei Jingheng would face at tomorrow's morning court. A joyous banquet had turned into a laughingstock. Pei Jingheng, are you satisfied with the gifts? Pei Jingheng's face was ashen, as if he could devour someone. Shen Mingyue, you're courting death. If you had honestly written the divorce agreement, why would I have come to this? I'm giving you 2 options. Before noon tomorrow, deliver the divorce agreement and all my dowry to me. Otherwise, we'll meet at the Shunshin Prefecture Court. I have evidence to accuse you of favoring your concubine over your wife, allowing the concubine to torment the legitimate wife to the point of miscarriage. Let the honorable magistrate judge this beautiful story between you and Miss Lin. This scene is pure, unadulterated gold. Most heroines leave quietly with a single tear. Mingyue. She marches into her ex-husband's wedding with a literal accounting team and reads the receipts out loud. She exposes the Pei family for what they are, financial parasites, by returning the cheap gifts and listing every cent she spent on them. She doesn't just embarrass them. She utterly dismantles their reputation in front of the entire elite society. It's petty, maybe. Is it incredibly satisfying? Absolutely. It's a masterclass in burning bridges, so thoroughly that the other side can't even find the ashes. Old Madame Pei pointed at my nose and cursed. You jealous woman, stirring up trouble with your jealousy, disgracing our family. You only deserve a letter of divorce, and don't even think about taking half a cent of your dowry. Hearing this, I was so furious that I laughed instead. I'll consider my 3 years of devotion as feeding dogs. But what belongs to me, your Pei family better not think of keeping a single penny. Old Madame Pei wanted to call the servants to escort me out, but fortunately I brought enough people today, and they didn't hurt me one bit. Just then, a resonant voice came from outside the crowd. Imperial edict arrives. The noisy crowd was startled and immediately parted to make way. Li Lingxi entered with her head held high, escorted by a team of palace guards. I was stunned. She quickly winked at me. Then her expression turned solemn as she announced loudly, Pei Jingheng received the edict. Old Madame Pei's face lit up with joy. It must be that Jingheng has received the emperor's reward. Pei Jinghang's heart also couldn't help but fill with anticipation. I knelt down with everyone to receive the imperial edict, and heard Li Lingxi's voice ring out loud and clear. By the grace of heaven, the emperor decrees, Tanhua Pei Jingheng has failed to maintain proper conduct within his household, favoring his concubine while destroying his wife, lacking in virtue and moral character. He is hereby demoted to compiler of the Hanlin Academy and ordered to reflect on his mistakes behind closed doors. His wife, Enfei Shen, is gentle, kind, and virtuous, and has suffered great injustice. She is granted permission to divorce. The Pei family shall immediately return all dowry items in full, and additionally provide 5,000 taels of silver as maintenance to preserve her dignity by imperial decree. When the edict finished, the hall fell deathly silent. Old Madame Pei's eyes rolled back, and she fainted on the spot. Pei Jinghang seemed unable to believe it, his eyes vacant and unfocused, unable to recover his senses for a long while. Under her bridal veil, Lin Wan's face also turned deathly pale in an instant. I was also stunned. I knew Lingxi would help me, but never in my wildest dreams did I expect she would actually obtain an imperial edict. Compiler Pei, won't you accept the decree? A raging fire burned in Pei Jingheng's chest, his venomous gaze shooting straight at me. Yet he didn't have the courage to defy the imperial decree. Shen Mingyue, well done. Looking at his twisted expression, I smiled calmly. If you knew it would come to this, why did you act that way in the first place? If you had agreed to divorce readily, how would it have come to this city-wide storm? 3 days from now, I'll come to retrieve everything that belongs to me. Li Lingxi and I left together, leaving only the mess behind at the Pacey family's gates. I pulled Li Lingxi close and said, with genuine sincerity, "Lingxi, thank you." Li Lingxi smiled cunningly. "You don't need to thank me. If you're going to thank anyone, you should thank Crown Prince Cousin. He is the one who obtained this imperial edict." The Crown Prince. I was stunned. "That is right. Last time you saved Crown Prince Cousin's life, he was grateful and naturally wanted to find ways to repay you." I couldn't help but feel delighted. This deal was truly worth it. Not only did I earn 1,500 points, but I also successfully dissolved the marriage and bit off a chunk of flesh from the Pei family. Right now, the entire Pei household must already be in complete chaos. Thinking of this, my mood instantly improved. 3 days later, the Pei family carried over trunks and boxes, delivering my dowry and 5,000 taels of silver to the separate residents. Pei Jinghang stood at the front of the procession, his eyes bloodshot as he glared at me, his voice hoarse. "Shen Mingyue, I never thought you would take things this far." I counted the items without even lifting my head. The one who took things too far was never me. In those 3 years at the Pei family, did you ever give me an ounce of respect? Since you and that cousin of yours are so deeply in love, now that I'm fulfilling your wishes, isn't this exactly what you wanted? He gritted his teeth. That 5,000 taels, that is what I deserve. I cut off his words. I worked like a slave for the Pei family for 3 years and even lost a child. These 5,000 taels can't compensate for the humiliation I suffered and the pain of losing my child. It is simply the price you should have paid. Pei Jingheng was intimidated by my gaze. After a long while, as if regaining his confidence, he said viciously, "Without me, you're just an abandoned woman. Do you think you can find any good match in the future? I'll wait for the day you come back begging for my forgiveness." Watching him still immersed in the past, deceiving himself, I only felt it utterly laughable. "Pei Jingheng, listen carefully." I met his gaze, word by word crystal clear. I, Shen Mingyue, in this life, will absolutely never regret today's decision. After the divorce, I felt my whole being had become lighter. I was no longer Lady PCA Shen, I was just Shen Mingye. I began taking inventory of my dowry, those flashy but impractical jewelry and fabrics. I had Chuntao gradually take them to sell, exchanging them for more substantial silver and land. With those 5,000 taels of silver, I purchased an estate with a medicinal garden in the outskirts of the capital. I took out the medical books and seeds rewarded by the system, following the medical books to identify herbs and study medical cases. Occasionally, Li Lingxi would come to my estate, and we would drink tea together, chatting about interesting happenings in the capital. She brought me quite a few interesting stories about the Pei family. Turns out, the 5,000 taels of silver they compensated me with actually came from Lin Wan's dowry. Li Lingxi was very contemptuous of this. The Pei family truly has no shame, specifically relying on their daughters-in-law's dowries to live. I smiled indifferently. One willing to strike, one willing to take the blow. That is all, just like how I used to be. Fortunately, now I've already jumped out of that fire pit. There has been quite a lot of rain in the capital lately, so I've had to take extra care when tending to the medicinal garden, afraid these delicate herbs would be affected by the moisture. What I didn't know was that the rainfall in Jiangnan was even more ferocious. And finally, one day, the dam broke, affecting 28 counties. When I learnt of this, I immediately decided to personally go to Jiangnan. I ordered people to open the treasury and withdraw silver to buy grain and medicine and set off at once. For convenience, I changed into men's clothing and rushed non-stop to Qinghe County, the most severely affected area, but someone got there faster than me. Crown Prince Li Xuanjin stood in the midst of muddy water and chaos, his ordinary indigo cotton robe already soaked through with mud, the hem splattered with mottled mud spots. His voice was already hoarse, yet he still clearly issued one command after another. Expand the Eastern District shelters, another 30 jiang outward, make sure the pathways remain clear. The water in the sick ward must be boiled. If I see anyone drinking unboiled water again, you'll answer to me. Third team, rotate off duty to eat. Fourth team, fill in the gap at the dam. At his feet was the newly planned resettlement area, where the disaster victims, though their faces showed sorrow, had already begun receiving porridge in an orderly fashion. In the distance, countless able-bodied men were chanting work songs, carrying earth, stone, and timber, struggling to reinforce what remained of the dam. Imperial physicians and recruited doctors shuttled back and forth between the sick tents, the air filled with the smell of lime and herbal medicine. He didn't have the airs of a lofty crown prince, only the pragmatism and sense of responsibility of sharing well and woe with the disaster victims. This crown prince was someone who truly got things done. In the name of a righteous merchant, I quickly arranged for my men to set up pots on the spot to cook porridge and distribute medicine, and directly sent the large quantities of medicinal materials I brought to the medical tents. I myself, along with assistants who knew medicine, dove right into the midst of the patients. The Crown Prince, virtuous as he was, personally received me and expressed gratitude for my generous donations. He didn't recognize me, and I didn't want to create unnecessary complications, so I just focused wholeheartedly on the disaster relief efforts. Everything was developing in a good direction, but then trouble struck suddenly. It was a seemingly ordinary evening when Li Xuanjin made his routine inspection near the porridge tent, where I was checking on the porridge distribution. I quietly looked toward him. His face was pale, dark circles under his eyes, his robes hanging loose on his body. He had become much thinner overall. Just as I was secretly sighing that being crown prince wasn't easy either, from the corner of my eye I caught sight of a disaster victim in tattered clothes, with a numb expression slowly approaching Li Xuanjin. I knew that person. His name was Zhang Da. His entire family, old and young, was gone, and he himself was utterly despondent. For some reason, my heart skipped a beat. The next instant, I saw him pull out a sharpened bamboo spike from his chest and stab it toward the back of Li Xuanjin's neck. Without time to think, I shoved Li Xuanjin hard to the side, then twisted my body and lifted my leg, kicking toward Zhang Da's wrist with all my strength. In an instant, the bamboo spike left his hand. Li Xuanjin's guards finally snapped back to their senses, swiftly stepping forward to pin Zhang Da down and quickly surrounding Li Xuanjin in a protective circle. Even after being restrained, Zhang Da's eyes remained bloodshot, his state like that of a madman. It was you who embezzled the funds for repairing the dikes and caused the death of my entire family. You all deserve to die. My parents, my wife, my children, all gone, all gone. And it is not just me, so many people behind me. Everyone's homes are destroyed. Both anxious and furious, I said, "It was corrupt officials who embezzled the funds. What does it have to do with the Crown Prince? The Crown Prince brought food and medicine to the disaster area, giving everyone shelter and access to treatment. If you kill him, you're killing everyone's benefactor. That is what is truly foolish." The guards were about to execute Zhang Da on the spot, but were stopped by Li Xuanjin. He walked slowly to stand before Zhang Da, then looked toward the crowd of disaster victims and actually bowed deeply to them all. The entire venue fell silent. Li Xuanjin straightened up, his voice resonant and forceful, clearly reaching everyone's ears. "This bow is on behalf of the court, on behalf of the government, to apologize to you and to all the common people who died unjustly. It is due to the court's failure in supervision that today's tragedy occurred." He slowly swept his gaze across the disaster victims. "I, Li Xuanjin, in the name of the Crown Prince, swear to the heavens. Upon returning to the capital, I will thoroughly investigate the embezzlement case of the Jiangnan dike. No matter who is involved, no matter what position they hold, they will be severely punished without exception, to comfort the tens of thousands of departed souls and give the living their justice. If I break this oath, may heaven reject me." Every word weighed 1,000 pounds, resounding with authority. Zhang Da stared blankly at Li Xuanjin, the madness and hatred in his eyes gradually replaced by overwhelming grief, until finally he collapsed to the ground, wailing in tears. Li Xuanjin did not punish Zhang Da. Because I saved him, I was invited into the tent. Before I could perform the proper courtesies, I saw the figure before me sway, and he fell straight forward. The tent immediately descended into chaos. Li Xuanjin had contracted the epidemic. Disease prevention had been strict during this time, and the Imperial Medical Bureau distributed preventive medicinal meals daily. I had tasted them. There was no problem with the formula. I had thought the epidemic treatment formula I prepared would no longer be needed, but who knew the disease would still find a way in? Li Xuanjin had been exhausted from days of toil, his body weakened and depleted, so he was the first to fall. Immediately after, news came from all quarters of disaster victims falling ill one after another. The epidemic surged, and the physicians of the Imperial Medical Bureau were helpless. I immediately presented the formula I had obtained from the system. The director of the Imperial Medical Bureau held the prescription, his face showing difficulty, not daring to use it without authorization. In the dead silence, Li Xuanjin's weak yet clear voice came from the sick bed. "Use her prescription. I will personally test the medicine." The Yuanzhen hurriedly tried to dissuade him. "Crown Prince, absolutely not." He struggled to lift his eyes to look at me, and there seemed to be a faint trace of a smile at the corner of his lips. "She has saved me more than once. I trust her." I froze. Could it be that he had recognized me all along? I personally attended to Li Xuanjin taking the medicine, constantly observing his pulse and complexion. My expression tense after 3 consecutive days of medication. Li Xuanjin's high fever still wouldn't subside, and I couldn't help but doubt my own prescription. The person on the bed suddenly spoke, his voice hoarse from the high fever. Last time when I was poisoned and my life was hanging by a thread, you dared to stuff the antidote pill of unknown origin into Lingxi's hands. This time with a prescription that has a name and origin. How come you're scared instead? I raised my eyes to meet his, which were exceptionally moist and bright from the fever. He struggled to pull at the corner of his mouth, that hint of a smile so faint it was almost invisible. Yet his tone carried an unquestionable certainty. Shenming Yu, go ahead and try without fear. I know what I'm doing. I won't die. Hearing these words, my uneasy heart was immediately soothed. I looked at him and asked the question that had been circling in my mind for so long. Your Highness, when did you recognize me? I recognized you from the first time I saw you. I never expected that you, a mere woman, would have such courage to personally venture into dangerous territory. My answer was righteous and stern. Doing practical things for the people, what does gender matter? In truth, I was ashamed in my heart. If not for the system points as a reward, I would never have gone this far. Li Xuanjin's gaze fell upon me, seemingly with a bit more appreciation. A personal guard rushed in anxiously, interrupting our conversation. Your Highness, this is bad. More and more disaster victims are coming to Qinghe County, and the grain supplies won't last much longer. My heart sank. The imperial supplies had yet to arrive. Merchant caravans feared the plague and wouldn't advance. Once the grain ran out, the situation would surely spiral out of control. Li Xuanjin forced his ailing body to draft a handwritten order, commanding his personal guards to rush to neighboring counties to procure grain. As for me, I was waiting for someone. I had long prepared for the worst-case scenario and had made arrangements in advance. Now I could only hope that person wouldn't drop the ball. On the fourth day, the Crown Prince's high fever finally broke, and the medicinal formula finally showed results. The formula was distributed among the people. Mild cases improved within 3 days. Severe cases also showed signs of recovery, and the gloom over the city gradually lifted. However, medicinal materials soon became scarce. Enduring the heartache, I exchanged all my points for medicinal materials, but it could only last 3 days. I humbly pleaded. System, can I borrow points on credit? The system's cold, merciless voice came back. No. Unwilling to give up, I said. My merit of saving you twice hasn't been calculated yet. The system's voice remained calm and flat. Only 1 point calculation per person. With no other choice, I mobilized the people to gather herbs in the mountains, and I myself rushed about the wilderness daily. And this day, just as I was rejoicing over finding a precious dragon's blood grass, a runner came sprinting to report, Miss Shen, they're here, the grain. The medicinal herbs, everything's here. I immediately rushed to the dock when I saw clearly the bright and beautiful figure at the bow of the ship. I couldn't help but freeze. It was actually Li Lingxi who came to escort the grain in person. Li Lingxi got off the ship, and I threw myself directly into her embrace. Lingxi, how come you're here? Lingxi's tone was reproachful. You've got some nerve asking, sneaking off to the disaster area by yourself, without even telling me beforehand. Just look at what a mess you've made of yourself. Her face was full of disdain, yet she let my mud-stained face rub against her expensive dress. Did you come alone? Li Lingxi jerked her chin toward the back. How would I have the ability to get this much grain and supplies? It is your cousin's achievement. He came forward to make agreements with all the major merchant houses. Each family handed over their stored grain for him to transport together. He alone bears the transportation risks, while the merchant houses sit back and enjoy the profits from sales. That is how we managed to gather so much grain so quickly. Cousin Gu Linfeng followed closely behind and got off the ship. My maternal grandfather's family was originally upright scholar officials, but this cousin of mine had no interest in books and poetry. He loved commerce alone. I don't know how many rods Uncle broke beating him, yet he still did as he pleased, and was ultimately driven out of the family home in what was half an exile. The person I entrusted with this important task was precisely him, and he indeed did not disappoint me. Gu Linfeng walked up to me, smiling as he spoke in a low voice. "Don't forget the conditions you promised, cousin." My expression remained unchanged. "Naturally, I won't forget. Naturally, I won't say that the thing I promised doesn't even have half a shadow yet. But what is in front of me is urgent. I'll deal with the debts later. With this batch of grain and medicinal supplies, the urgent needs of the disaster area are resolved." 3 days later, the court's grain transport team finally arrived, their banners crooked, showing exhaustion everywhere. And sitting high on horseback, the official in charge of the escort was actually Pei Jingheng. It turned out that no one was willing to take on this hard task of entering the epidemic area, so he, eager to make merit and regain his footing after being demoted, volunteered himself. He had calculated on the merit of sending charcoal in the snow, but never expected that he would arrive a step too late, with all the glory and credit already taken by someone else. At this moment his face was ashen, his mood terrible to the extreme. His gaze swept over the crowd and spotted me. After the shock came furious rage. He strode up to me, his usual composure completely gone, opening his mouth with harsh questioning. "Shen Mingyue, you actually haunt me all the way here. Do you have no shame at all? Let me tell you, even if you regret it now, the Pei family will never want a woman like you again." He looked at me, his eyes filled with the familiar condescension. His face showed disdain, but actually carried a thick sense of superiority, enjoying my pursuit of him and unwavering devotion. I laughed in extreme anger. "I came here to provide disaster relief. What is it to you, such narcissism?" "Disaster relief? Just you, a mere woman." He acted like he'd heard the joke of the century. Seeing me being pestered by Pei Jingheng, Li Lingxi immediately rushed forward to protect me like a mother hen. "What is wrong with being a woman? Is Lord Pei perhaps blind? Just look around this disaster area. How many women are hauling stones to repair embankments and caring for the wounded, just like men, without women. Can you men conjure up children out of thin air by yourselves?" Pei Jingheng said coldly. "This is a private matter of this official's household. The princess need not trouble herself to interfere." I immediately spoke up, drawing a clear line. "Lord Pei, mind your words. The imperial decree has been issued. You and I are divorced. Now we're merely strangers. What household matter is there to discuss?" My words provoked Pei Jingheng until his eyes blazed with fury, staring at me intently. "Shen Mingyue, how long are you going to keep up this stubborn act? If you're willing to bow your head and admit your mistake now, I might still consider giving you the status of a concubine." I found his arrogance and delusions utterly absurd. "If Lord Pei suffers from delusional disorder, you'd better find a physician to examine you soon, rather than making a fool of yourself here. You." Pei Jingheng flew into a rage from humiliation, about to continue pestering when a clear, authoritative voice rang out from behind. "Lord Pei." Li Xuanjin walked over slowly, his gaze calm yet carrying invisible pressure as it fell upon Pei Jingheng. "You're openly harassing a lady here. What exactly are you trying to do?" Pei Jingheng's entire body stiffened, and he hastily turned around to salute. "Your Highness, please allow me to explain. This official merely has some misunderstanding with my wife." "Your wife?" Li Xuanjin raised his eyebrows slightly, his tone suddenly turning severe. "The emperor himself issued an imperial decree granting you two a divorce. This imperial edict was one I personally requested. How could there be any mistake? Could it be that Lord Pei wishes to defy the imperial decree?" He abruptly raised his head, all color draining from his face, filled with disbelief. This official absolutely has no such intention. This official is just. He couldn't finish the rest of his sentence for a long while. Li Xuanjin's gaze was sharp as a blade, coldly cutting into him. Shen Mingyue presented an excellent remedy for the epidemic, saving countless lives, and with her own strength before the court's provisions arrived, she secured life-saving grain, resolving this urgent crisis. Such merit far exceeds anyone present, and even far exceeds mine. She does not deserve to be treated with such disrespect by you. Pei Jingheng looked at me with undeniable shock, his eyes practically bulging out. He couldn't believe that the woman who once revolved around him, whom he had discarded like worn-out shoes, would achieve such great merit after leaving him. Li Xuanjin no longer looked at him, only leaving behind a light remark. Lord Pei, since you've taken on this assignment of escorting the grain, do your proper duties well and don't put the cart before the horse. Pei Jingheng's body swayed, his face showing unprecedented panic and dishevelment. Unable to stay any longer with dignity, he fled almost stumbling. Watching his fleeing figure in disarray, I felt utterly vindicated. I thanked Li Xuanjin. Thank you, Your Highness, for speaking up for me. Li Xuanjin looked at me quietly, a faint smile playing at the corners of his lips. I merely spoke the truth. Your achievements are there for all to see. Once we return to the capital, I will certainly petition Father Emperor to reward your merits. Hearing the words, "Reward your merits," my heart stirred, knowing the opportunity had come. I seized the moment and spoke with just the right amount of earnestness. Your Highness's favor overwhelms this commoner with gratitude. If we speak of merits, this commoner does have one humble request. Li Xuanjin raised his eyebrows slightly. Oh, do tell. This commoner wishes to obtain a salt permit. This was the condition I had promised my cousin. My cousin is a meticulous person who haggles over every detail. I couldn't go back on my word, or I'd never be able to ask for his help again. Li Xuanjin didn't speak for a moment, and I immediately grew anxious. A salt permit was no small matter. I feared my small merit might not be enough to qualify. Just as I was feeling uneasy, a gentle voice finally came from above. Granted. Joy burst forth in my eyes. Thank you, Your Highness, the Crown Prince. The disaster relief work was drawing to a close. The epidemic subsided, the disaster victims properly settled, and everything returned to order. My points finally arrived. Ding successfully controlled a large-scale plague, directly treated Yuan Yiten Xibai Arsha citizens. Reward points, Yuan Yiten Xibai Arsha points. Ding contributed an excellent remedy for the epidemic, benefiting future generations. Reward points, Sensen points. Ding secured crucial grain supplies, stabilized Senshi Lininin disaster victims. Reward points, Yuan Wuten points. Total points earned this time, Liangwan Joten Xibai Arsha points. Current total points, Liangwan Joten Xibai Arsha points. Listening to the continuous ding-dong sounds in my head, my mouth almost split from smiling. So this is what it feels like to rake in gold by the bushel. Truly awesome. With more silver in hand, I couldn't help but want to spend it. I pulled up the system panel again and entered the system shop. With nearly 10 Shalininim points, those entries that were once completely dimmed had now lit up one after another. My gaze locked precisely on one particular entry, my eyes shining brightly. Cement. However, the hefty price tag of Lininim points behind it made my heart ache. System, can you give me a discount? Fixed prices, no bargaining. I endured the pain and exchanged for the cement formula. A small slip of paper appeared in my hand. I knew how significant this formula was. If I submitted it directly to the court, it would surely be another great achievement. But I didn't do that. I wanted not only fame, but also profit. Gu Linfeng arrived shortly. He'd been so busy these days, his feet barely touched the ground, disheveled from head to toe, with not a trace of a noble family's young master about him. Of course, I wasn't much better off than him. As soon as he opened his mouth, he asked, Where are my salt certificates? I quickly reassured him. No rush, no rush. What I promised you, I definitely won't go back on. Right now, I have an even bigger deal to discuss with you, guaranteed to make us filthy rich. I handed him the formula. At first, he seemed rather indifferent, but once he clearly saw what was written, the laziness on his face instantly vanished, replaced by an extremely solemn expression. Solidifies when mixed with water. Hard as rock. Mingyue, is this really true? He looked up at me, his eyes flashing with sharp light, the kind of gleam a hunter has when spotting prey. I nodded firmly. Absolutely true. If cousin doesn't believe me, we can test it on a small-scale first-stone trial, and you'll know. When it came to anything involving money, Gu Linfeng moved faster than anyone. 2 days later, he brought over a finished product. It worked. He stroked the hardened cement block, as if caressing a lover's cheek, his voice trembling slightly. Mingyue, do you know what this means? I said slowly, it means we can rebuild stronger dams to prevent the Jiangnan tragedy from happening again. It means we can pave official roads as smooth as a whetstone, speeding up cargo transport and troop deployment. It means city defenses will be elevated by several levels. Gu Linfeng's eyes glinted with calculating light. The benefits of this material are extraordinary. Presenting it directly to the court might earn some rewards. But in the long run, that is not the best strategy. I knew it. With Gu Linfeng's money grubbing nature, he'd definitely think along the same lines as me. I pretended to hesitate. Profits tempt people's hearts, but also invite covetous eyes. This thing, we can't swallow it alone. Gu Linfeng lowered his voice. Eating alone won't make you fat. I naturally understand that principle we must pull in, allies with enough weight to form a community of shared interests. Only then can we block the open spears and hidden arrows. Our eyes met, and we spoke in unison, naming one person, His Highness the Crown Prince. The two money grubbers hit it off immediately, taking that concrete brick to seek an audience with the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince's personal guard looked at the weapon in our hands with a face full of vigilance. I hastily explained, "This is a treasure we're presenting to the Crown Prince." The guard had a weird expression, like, "Are you messing with me?" When Li Xuanjin saw that concrete block, he also showed a puzzled look. Gu Linfeng very obsequiously presented the detailed plan he'd organized. After Li Xuanjin finished reading it, his eyes couldn't hide his astonishment. "This thing is quite marvelous. Who found this formula?" I hastily bowed my head, adopting a respectful posture. "In reply to your Highness, this commoner woman discovered this item in a damaged military manual while sorting through my father's belongings. During his lifetime, Father often lamented that the border fortifications had fallen into disrepair from age. Perhaps this was one of the ingenious things he collected back then." Gu Linfeng immediately chimed in. "May your Highness see clearly. If this thing can be used to construct border defenses, it would truly comfort General Shen's spirit in heaven." Li Xuanjin's gaze shifted between us. General Shen truly left me quite a few surprises. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Li Xuanjin continued, "I will present this item to the court on your behalf, and will certainly request merit for you both when the time comes." I stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Your Highness is wise. If cement can benefit the people, that is its greatest value. This commoner woman and her cousin dare not claim credit. This merit should rightfully belong to those who can make good use of it." The corners of Li Xuanjin's lips curved up slightly, with a hint of amusement. "If you don't seek fame and merit, then what do you want?" I raised my eyes to meet his probing gaze. My voice clear and firm. "Once cement comes to light, the Ministry of Works will surely engage in large-scale construction. This commoner woman and her cousin wish to serve your Highness diligently, establishing a trading company on your Highness's behalf, specializing in cement production, Profits will also be allocated according to your highness's wishes. These words were a clear pledge of allegiance. I was handing over the credit for discovering cement to Li Xuanjin, and while the profits from cement afterward would be substantial, Li Xuanjin would eat the meat while we'd just have some soup. This was a plan that could help him consolidate his position, win the hearts of the people, enrich the national treasury, while also allowing us to gain both fame and fortune. He had no reason to refuse. Li Xuanjin gazed at me for a long time, his eyes deep as a pool. Shen Mingyue. For some reason, my spine stiffened, giving me the illusion of being targeted by a predator. He said slowly, "You're completely different from when you were at the Pei residence. This courage and scheming has truly impressed me." I tried to stay calm. After going through storms, one must grow. In the end, Li Xuanjin nodded slightly. Granted. One word to decide, yet it weighed 1,000 pounds. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I was only responsible for providing the formula. The one actually doing the work was Gu Linfeng. This is where she pivots from scorned wife to national oligarch. Instead of wallowing, she uses her system rewards to invent cement. But here's the genius part. She doesn't just hand it over for free. She negotiates a deal with the crown prince. She secures political protection, creates a monopoly, and lets her cousin do all the heavy lifting while she counts the profits. It's shrewd, it's pragmatic, and it shows that while love is fleeting, infrastructure contracts are forever. He stayed behind to follow orders, and I quickly slipped away. Li Xuanjin immediately ordered people to mix cement with sand and stone outside Qinghe County, the hardest hit disaster area, to repair a section of the official road that had been washed away. 3 days later, the road surface solidified, just as torrential rain poured down. The road that used to be muddy beyond belief was now impervious to water, with carts and horses passing through unobstructed disaster. Victims pushing grain carts ran through the rain, as if on level ground, all kneeling and crying out miracle. After returning to the capital, Li Xuanjin requested merit for me. The emperor praised me for my benevolent heart in aiding the world, with merit for the state, and conferred upon me the title of Princess Al, granting me a fief of 800 households, 500 taels of gold, and 100 bolts of silk. When the decree was announced, the entire city was shocked. Who would have thought that the former cast-out wife of the Pei family would now become a second-rank princess? The credit for the cement fell to Jiyu Linfeng. With this merit, the establishment of Panshi Trading Company naturally fell into place. I voluntarily gave away this credit. I had already earned the system points. On the surface, I didn't want to become a target that everyone watched. From now on, I only need to lie down and count money, while Gu Linfeng has to work himself to death. Thinking about it, he is still the one getting the worst deal, the day after the conferment. Li Xuanjin personally visited. Xuntao's hands were trembling as she served tea, but I recalled all the times working with him in the disaster area and instead felt composed and calm. He took out a brocade box from his sleeve and pushed it over, his eyes clear and smiling. "The salt permits, I promised you." Joy burst forth from my eyes. "Thank you, Your Highness the Crown Prince." I received him warmly, exceptionally fawning. Li Xuanjin was also in good spirits, touring my medicinal garden with apparent great interest. I very dutifully and responsibly introduced my treasures to him, but soon an uninvited guest came to the door, breaking the rare harmonious atmosphere. The visitor was Lin Wan again. I had someone send her away, but the maid reported back that if I didn't see her, she would keep waiting and not leave. Li Xuanjin said gently, "You receive your guests first. I'll look around the medicinal garden on my own." Hearing this, I also wanted to see what exactly she was up to. So I let her in. Her face was pale, her body frail, and she looked haggard overall. It seemed that after marrying into the Pei family, her days had not been good. Lin Wan's days were indeed not easy. Back then, to scrape together the 5,000 taels to compensate me, Pei Jingheng and old Madame Pei used both soft and hard tactics, drawing on her dowry. They kept saying it was spending money to avoid disaster, but the money was like throwing meat buns at a dog. It drained Lin Wan's personal savings, yet couldn't buy her even half a moment of peace. Pei Jingheng no longer treated her with his former gentleness, his brows always carrying a hint of irritation. What chilled her heart even more was Pei Jiaojiao, this sister-in-law, was extravagant by nature and repeatedly asked her for money. The moment she showed any reluctance, Pei Jiaojiao would go crying to her aunt. Her aunt, who once loved her most, now also frowned at her and said, fussing over such trivial matters, "You really aren't as magnanimous as Mingyue was back then." When news spread that I had earned merit through disaster relief and been granted the title of county princess, the entire Pei family began to show faint signs of regret. Lin Wan's situation in the Pei household became increasingly awkward. Thinking of all these things, a terrifying hatred ignited in Lin Wan's eyes. "Shen Mingyue, you must be very pleased with yourself now, aren't you?" Her voice was shrill. "So your meekness in the Pei family was all an act." I looked at her calmly. "Ava Corporation, why do you not bow before this county princess?" Her expression stiffened, then her tone became agitated. "Who knows how you got this county princess title? You're nothing but a good-for-nothing. How could you possibly know medicine? You must have used some underhanded means." I let out a mocking laugh. "Those with gutters in their hearts see all the world as filthy. This county princess acts honorably and has no need to justify herself to you. But she seemed trapped in her own obsession. No one understands you better than I do. You've stirred up all this trouble just to force cousin to change his mind, haven't you? Let me tell you, dream on. As long as I'm alive, I will never let you return to the Pei family." Hearing this, I was actually amused by her absurd logic. Well, I should really thank you for that. A piece of trash like Pei Jingheng. You'd better keep him to yourself and stop letting him out to harm others. Lin Wan's lips curled into a sinister smile. "I know you're saying the opposite of what you mean, but no matter. I'll completely crush your hopes right now." Before her words even finished, she suddenly turned and violently slammed herself against the hard rosewood table corner beside her. With a dull thud, she crumpled to the ground, her pale hands clutching her slightly swollen belly as blood instantly soaked through her moon-white dress. I was stunned, never imagining she would go to such lengths to frame me, even using her own unborn child as a bargaining chip. My child," she wailed miserably. "Sister Shen, even with 1,000 grievances, why hurt the flesh in my womb? Cousin, save our child." When Pei Jingheng burst through the door, he saw exactly this scene of blood-stained silk, his eyes splitting with rage. "Shen Mingyue, you venomous woman, you actually vicious to this extent. Not even sparing an unborn child. Wana, don't be afraid. I'll have someone fetch the imperial physician right away." I quickly calmed down. This county princess did not push her. She harmed herself to frame me. These words sounded truly absurd. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it either, let alone Pei Jingheng. Sure enough, I saw his eyes splitting with rage, each word aimed to kill. "Venomous woman. Wana is 6 months pregnant. How could she use her own flesh and blood as bait? In your mad jealousy, you fabricated such a clumsy lie. I will immediately go request a sacred judgment. A woman who harms an unborn imperial heir and has lost all virtue, how can she deserve the title of county princess?" At this moment, a clear and resonant voice came through. "What if I testify for her?" Li Xuanjin walked in with measured steps, his brows beneath the jade crown condensed with cold frost. Pei Jingheng froze. Why would the crown prince be here? What a coincidence! I was just enjoying tea in the side hall and took in this entire spectacle. Lord Pei wants to see the Emperor. Perfect. I'll go with you. Lin Wan's body stiffened violently, her already pale complexion becoming even paler. Lin Wan's fingertips dug into her palm as she forced herself to stay calm. How could this subject's wife joke about her own flesh and blood? Li Xuanjin countered. I haven't even said what I saw yet. How does Lady Pei already assume I'm going to testify that you framed her? Or is it that you've had a guilty conscience all along? One sentence shattered Lin Wan's forced composure. Pei Jingheng looked down at her, just in time to catch a trace of panic in her eyes. I looked at Lin Wan, my gaze sharp as a blade. You're not pregnant at all. Just moments ago, I summoned the system and redeemed the full body scan function. The system immediately scanned Lin Wan's body, but detected no signs of pregnancy. She was faking it. Lin Wan suddenly looked at me, her eyes filled with terror. Pei Jingheng, on the other hand, acted as if he'd heard some absurd joke. Utterly ridiculous. Wana's pregnancy has been examined by so many physicians. How could it possibly be fake? My tone was certain. She took phantom pearl powder to fake a pregnancy pulse, which is why she showed all those signs of pregnancy. She came to put on this show today, to use a miscarriage to pin the blame on me, killing two birds with one stone. What a brilliant scheme. The color instantly drained from Lin Wan's face, her lips trembling but unable to form words. She never expected that I would see through her scheme in one go. Doubt had already appeared in Pei Jingheng's eyes, but he still forced himself to stay calm. You, without any proof or evidence. This is complete nonsense. At this moment, Li Xuanjin spoke steadily, since both sides insist on their version. Let's have a medical sage determine the truth. I've already sent someone to invite the retired imperial physician Liu, who should be arriving at the alley entrance right about now. Upon hearing this, Lin Wan suddenly shrank back, her fingertips turning cold. Imperial physician Liu arrived quickly and carefully examined Lin Wan's pulse. After several checks, he stated with certainty, Your Highness, this is a false pulse caused by phantom pearl powder, and this blood surge symptom is not a sign of miscarriage either, but rather the result of taking conflicting blood, activating medicine. Lin Wan shrilly denied it. No, it is not like that. You're all conspiring together. Pei Jingheng looked at the imperial physician, then at Lin Wan, who had lost all color in her face, his expression showing disbelief and the fury of being deceived. But he was unwilling to admit his blindness in front of me and lose face, so he could only grit his teeth and insist. I believe Wana. She would never lie to me. Yet his tightly clenched fists and ashen face had already betrayed his true thoughts. Watching him stubbornly clinging to his pride while suffering, I sneered and delivered the final blow. If you still don't believe it, go back to the Pei residence right now and search her room. She definitely still has that kind of medicine that can fool anyone, or ask her most trusted personal maid. You'll know with one question. Hearing these words, Lin Wan's body trembled violently, her eyes becoming even more evasive, not daring to meet Pei Jingheng's gaze at all. Pei Jingheng left hastily with Lin Wan. I knew that after this incident, the once deeply devoted couple would surely develop a rift between them. From now on, the Pei residence was bound to become lively. Li Xuanjin suddenly spoke up. What, do you still have lingering feelings for Pei Jingheng? I shuddered, feeling a chill all over my body. How is that possible? Even if all the men in the world went extinct, I still wouldn't have any attachment to him. The Crown Prince's expression seemed to soften a bit. Then why were you staring at him with such a pained and reluctant look? I was at a loss for words. I was heartbroken over my points. I just spent a whole 1,000 points. Although I'm quite wealthy now, spending points on Lin Wan is simply a waste. This matter was nothing more than an insignificant little episode to me. During the day, I tended to the newly cultivated purple ginseng in the medicinal garden, and at night I fiddled and researched with the system light screen, occasionally enjoying tea and pleasant conversation with Li Lingxi, who came to mooch meals. My days were quite carefree. Who would have thought that just after returning to the estate from inspecting the newly built weaving workshop in the suburbs of the capital, I'd be blocked by Pei Jingheng, his eyes filled with pain and some kind of self-righteous affection. Mingye, I was wrong, so terribly wrong. I was blind back then, my heart clouded by lard, and I failed your sincere devotion. I wrongly trusted that bitch from Ava Corporation. Can you forgive me? Watching this performance of his, I only felt my stomach churning. Belated affection is cheaper than grass, and what is more, this isn't even affection. Clearly he just sees that I now have value to exploit, and wants to drag me back into that hellhole to continue slaving away for him and the Pei family. I coldly spat out one word, scram. His eyes were full of pain. Mingyue, I know you harbor resentment in your heart. It was my foolishness that failed your true devotion back then. Only now do I realize that you alone treated me with utmost sincerity, giving everything you had for the PI family. He suddenly grabbed my sleeve, his tone urgent. I'll go back right now and divorce Ava Corporation. Can we rekindle our past relationship? This time I will truly cherish and treasure you, grant you the phoenix crown and bridal veil, and make you the proper matriarch of the Pei family. I let out a scornful laugh, as if I'd heard the biggest joke in the world. Where do you get the audacity to think I'd take you back? Forget about rekindling anything. Even passing by your Pei manor would dirty the soles of my shoes. Pei Jingheng's face turned deathly pale, his lips trembling, as if he still wanted to say something, but I had no patience to entangle with him any further, and directly had the guards throw him out. He struggled, looking back at me unwillingly, his eyes full of disbelief and the wretchedness of being wounded by my words. I turned around and walked toward my carriage without hesitation, leaving him and his ridiculous words completely behind. When Li Lingxi learned of this, she clapped her hands in delight. Well said. That kind of man deserves to be put in his place. But she leaned close to me, blinked. I heard that after he went back, he really did make a fuss about divorcing Lin Wan. But unfortunately, old Madame Pei refused no matter what. After all, Lin Wan's 5,000 taels haven't been settled yet. If he divorces her, the Pei family would really have to pay out of their own pocket. Now the Pei household is in chaos every day. What a great show to watch. I smiled faintly and didn't respond. The Pei family's drama, to me, was now like watching a fire from the opposite shore. My path lay ahead, wide and open. Why should I linger over the muddy mess behind me? The advent of cement caused a tremendous stir throughout the great Yu dynasty. The new Jiangnan embankment stood like an iron wall. The official roads were smooth as jade ribbons, and merchants and travelers all marveled at it. The court levied road taxes based on this, yet merchants and travelers were all willing to pay due to its convenience, and the national treasury grew abundant as a result. The border fortress walls were covered with cement shells, greatly boosting the morale of the garrison troops. My points also arrived one after another. Ding successfully promoted cement technology, benefiting tens of thousands of people, directly enhancing national power. Reward points, Sen points. Ding. Improved transportation promoted commercial prosperity, indirectly benefiting the common people. Reward points, Arlene lean points. Current total points, Liubati Arlene points. Listen to this pleasant sound. Isn't it way more comfortable than endlessly wrangling with the Pei family? Gu Linfeng, with his exceptional financial acumen, turned cement into a rolling source of wealth and was privately hailed by both the court and the public as the living god of wealth. The Crown Prince, cherishing his talent, issued a special decree to recruit him into the Ministry of Revenue, appointing him as a vice minister to oversee all cement-related political and commercial affairs, making him the first person in this dynasty to enter the court without passing the imperial examinations. Jiu Linfeng came specially to thank me, and I couldn't hide my surprise. You've always only loved gold and silver. How come you suddenly want to become an official? Gu Linfeng swept his wide sleeves, his expression full of high spirits. Cousin, you're mistaken. Your foolish elder brother simply detests those literary pursuits. But the Ministry of Revenue, his voice suddenly dropped, a sharp gleam flashing in his eyes, controls the wealth and grain of the entire realm. To strategize here is to serve the nation's granaries. Using commercial acumen to support national policy, that is where true ability shows. With such grand ambitions, he truly earned my newfound respect. He indeed had real ability. After taking office, he established water conservancy bonds in the name of the Ministry of Revenue, using future cement profits and toll taxes as collateral, inviting merchants from across the land to purchase them. As soon as the news broke, wealthy merchants rushed to buy them with their money, and gleaming silver soon filled the national treasury. The water conservancy projects that originally lacked funding could immediately begin construction. This move essentially used future wealth to resolve the current crisis, revitalizing the national treasury in one stroke. Having received the emperor's praise, he became completely full of himself, showing off endlessly in front of me. I didn't go through the imperial examinations yet. I can still serve as an official in the same court as my old man. You have no idea the way he looked at me this morning. I've never stood so straight in front of him in my entire life. I glanced at him with a smile. Want to pull off another big one. Gu Linfeng's eyes lit up, and he immediately leaned in. Let's hear it. Open up maritime trade. I lowered my voice. The seas are full of treasures. It just depends on whether you have the skill to claim them. The court can increase revenue from maritime taxes, and your merchant fleet can also ride the favorable wind to make a fortune. He was tempted, but his face showed reluctance. This matter involves too many parties. It'll be hard to push through. If this were easy, how would it showcase your achievement? I knew that Gu Linfeng loved money. The salt license I gave him, he didn't waste it. Maritime trade had such huge profits, he must be itching for it. Sure enough, he waved his hand as if helpless. Fine, fine, who told me I'm born to toil. I'll give this a try. However, as soon as the proposal came out, it met fierce opposition from court officials. The Ministry of Works claimed shipbuilding wastes resources and harms the people. The censors remonstrated that the maritime ban is ancestral law, and for a time there was a stalemate. At this moment, Crown Prince Li Xuanjin stepped forward to state his position, clearly outlining 3 benefits of opening the seas. First, it could relieve the livelihood of the southeastern people, using shipbuilding and maritime transport to settle 100,000 households. Second, it could fill the national treasury, establishing a maritime trade office to bring in 1 million taels of tax silver annually without needing to tap into the imperial reserves. Third, it could support military operations on the southern frontier and northern border, opening up maritime supply lines to strengthen national defense. Every sentence struck at the heart of national economy and people's livelihood, and the voices of opposition gradually weakened. But there were still stubborn censors who refused to back down. Those overseas barbarians, if we invite a wolf into our house. Li Xuanjin cast a cold glance and casually retorted, "Are you saying our glorious celestial dynasty fears the barbarians' ships? Or do you gentlemen think that our great Yu's navy is too weak to fight?" That old censor was immediately left speechless. Ji Wenhai kept making eyes at Gu Linfeng, his eyes almost crossing, but Gu Linfeng acted as if he didn't see it, and instead publicly made his position clear. This subject is willing to stake his military pledge. Within 3 years, if maritime trade tax revenue doesn't reach 30% of land customs, this subject will request his own dismissal and investigation. After Li Xuanjin and Gu Linfeng finished this coordinated performance, the Son of Heaven on the dragon throne finally nodded, approved. The Ministry of Revenue shall take the lead and draft maritime trade regulations within 3 months. Li Xuanjin personally went to southern Fujian to oversee maritime trade affairs, with Jiyu Linfeng accompanying him. In the blink of an eye, several months passed, and as the year-end approached, maritime trade also entered a stable phase. When the first official merchant fleet returned, the ship full of Southeast Asian spices and rare timber caused the Maritime Trade Office's daily tax revenue to exceed 10,000 taels of silver. Mine and Gu Linfeng's merchant fleet also returned with a full load, and the two of us made a fortune. Silver coins jingled in my pocket, and at the same time, the system's notification also rang out in my mind, like heavenly music. Ding successfully promoted the opening of sea routes, facilitated commercial prosperity, and expanded the dynasty's territory. Reward points, Li Nin points. Ding indirectly created hundreds of thousands of jobs, improving the livelihood of the southeastern people. Reward points, Li Nin points. Current total points, Shisenwen Baten Tibai points. Having money in my pocket, it is really hard to resist spending it. I opened the system shop, browsed around, and bought lots of grain seeds, various farming tools, and fertilizer. Hybrid rice seeds, C10 points. High-yield wheat, Jiahe seeds, C10 points. Golden potato seed tubers, C10 points, supporting farming tools and fertilizer, Liang 10 points. Just like that, I spent over 10,000 points again. But this lady's got money. This lady can afford it. After spring began, I handed these over to the most experienced old tenant farmers on the estate and had them do trial plantings in the designated fields. The great Yu dynasty had opened sea routes, so all manner of novel things now had a source. At first, the tenant farmers were still skeptical about the hybrid rice that looked no different from ordinary rice seeds. On harvest day, the entire estate erupted in excitement. The potatoes were bigger than fists, and each dig yielded a huge cluster. The wheat and rice ears were heavy and golden, almost bending the stalks. The old tenant farmers who'd worked the land their whole lives widened their eyes in amazement. I specially invited Jiyu Linfeng and Li Lingxi to the estate to relax. To everyone's surprise, when the carriage came to a stop, the first to step down was actually Li Xuanjin. The spring sunlight slanted upon him, his dark, regular attire making his figure appear tall and straight like bamboo. I'd heard that last month he personally went to Huainan Circuit to rectify the long-standing abuses in the grain transport system. Perhaps due to the hardships of the grain transport work, his jawline appeared even sharper than before. But those phoenix eyes remained as calm and deep as an abyss, his overall bearing now carrying an added measure of the steady composure that comes from practical governance. I wore a smile on my face. "Greetings, Your Highness." I had already been planning to find an opportunity to let him see those grain seeds with his own eyes, but as a mere woman of the inner quarters, extending an invitation out of the blue would seem too abrupt. Know that he had come uninvited. It was an unexpected delight. Gu Linfeng moved to Li Lingxi's side and muttered in a lowered voice, "How did you end up bringing the Crown Prince along?" Recalling how this lord had conducted himself with such swift and decisive efficiency when supervising maritime transport in southern Fujian earlier in the year, his back still tensed up at the memory. This meal today would likely have to be eaten with a ramrod straight back again. Li Lingxi looked like she was about to cry. When I was leaving, I just happened to run into him and casually extended an invitation. Who could have known that cousin would actually agree? Jiyu Linfeng, The Crown Prince sure has a lot of free time. Li Xuanjin's gaze swept over with a dark look, and the two immediately shut their mouths. A feast had already been prepared at the estate. Wild game from the mountains paired with freshly cooked rice, and the most special dish was the chicken stewed with potatoes. Li Xuanjin tasted a bite of the golden, soft potato, surprise flashing in his eyes. This has a unique texture. What ingredient is this? This is the moment I've been waiting for. This thing is called potato, which my merchant ship happened to obtain from overseas. Gu Linfeng opened his mouth to say something, but I glared him back into silence. Li Xuanjin's gaze lightly swept between the two of us, suppressing the doubt in his eyes. After the meal, I led them toward the field ridges. Li Lingxi curiously fidgeted with the potato vines, while Li Xuanjin, disregarding the dirt in the field, crouched down and personally dug up a large potato plant. I said, "This thing is drought-resistant and tolerates poor soil. This small one mu can yield over 1,000 jin, and it can even grow in the harsh, cold borderlands." I reached out again, pointing to the golden rice ears over there. That new rice variety yields 4 times as much per mu as previous years. Li Xuanjin gazed at those layers of golden waves, his eyes seeming to hold a prairie fire of stars. His voice could barely conceal his excitement. If all the farmland under heaven could have such harvests, why would we worry about granaries not being full? I immediately said, "Fortunately, the court opened maritime transport, allowing this subject to have the fortune of finding these grain seeds. This subject is willing to dedicate all of them to the court." Shen Mingyue, these few words, rolled between his lips and teeth, carrying unprecedented warmth. "You always give me pleasant surprises." After Li Xuanjin presented the grain seeds and cultivation methods to the imperial court, the emperor was greatly pleased and immediately issued an edict for the court of imperial sacrifices to fully supervise the trial planting. The court of imperial sacrifices allocated 100 qing of official land in the suburbs of the capital, with direct guidance from the old tenant farmers on my estate. In late spring, the 100 qing of official land under the court of imperial sacrifices welcomed its first harvest. The trial planting of the new grains was a huge success, with yields per mu that shocked the entire court and countryside. Potatoes reached Item Babai Jin, rice Lues High and Sendao wheat CS High and Zhoudao. All yields were 3 to 4 times greater than before. The emperor was immensely delighted. He personally bestowed the names Yongle potato, Jiafeng rice, and Yumen wheat with his imperial brush. He also issued an edict promoting me to Princess of Al and granted me 1,000 taels of gold, 10 hue of pearls, and silks and satins that flowed like water into the princess's residence. Ding. Successfully promoted high-yield grain varieties, directly solving the people's food and clothing problems. Reward points, Wuli Nin points. Current total points, Yao Ci Tiarlin points. Listening to the system notification, I stroked the newly adorned pearls on the princess's tur. My heart blooming with joy. Gu Linfeng had been annoyed to no end by his family's marriage pressure lately. This day he slipped over to my estate, sighing heavily. "Cousin, save me. Mother blocks me daily with portraits of young ladies. I was checking the accounts and didn't even look up. How am I supposed to save you? How about?" He leaned in and whispered, "We say that you and I are in love." My pen paused, and I laughed. How would eldest aunt ever approve of someone of my status? It is even better if you disagree. That gives me a reason to refuse meetings with others. Who knew that 3 days later, the Gu family would actually send a matchmaker to our door? Looking at the names side by side on the marriage compatibility document, he and I stared at each other in disbelief. It is still not too late to come clean now. Gu Linfeng grabbed his hair in distress. We went together to visit our seriously ill grandmother, planning to confess the truth. Grandmother placed my hand and Gu Linfeng's hand together, full of anticipation. Mingyue, you've suffered before, but fortunately all that has passed. You can marry into our family with peace of mind. In the entire Gu household, no one will dare mistreat you. If Lin Feng dares treat you badly, I'll be the first one who won't forgive him. My heart felt a pang of sourness, and I swallowed back the words that were on the tip of my tongue. I used my points to exchange for medicine for grandmother, and her serious illness improved. The old lady became even more convinced it was an auspicious omen from the joyous occasion. Ji Linfeng came to me privately, trying to curry favor and negotiate. Dear cousin, look at grandmother's health right now. How about we just pretend for now? It'll put the old lady's mind at ease and also give me some peace and quiet. I agreed readily. Sure, just give me an additional 10% of the maritime trade profits. Zhu Linfeng jumped up. Shen Mingyue, you're taking advantage of someone in distress. Then I'll go confess to aunt right now. No, no, no. Gu Linfeng hurriedly stopped me. Deal. When news of my engagement spread, Pei Jinghang suddenly came looking for me. He reeked of alcohol, his eyes bloodshot, the depths revealing suppressed fury and sorrow. How could you marry another? You clearly said you'd only love me for this lifetime. How could you go back on your word? I stepped back half a pace, putting distance between us. Those foolish words spoken in youthful ignorance, are they worth remembering even now? You and I divorced long ago. Who marries whom is none of each other's business. He actually stepped forward to grab my wrist, but was stopped in time by my maid. Mingyu, I know you still have feelings for me. His voice was hoarse. I wronged you back then, but why must you use marriage into the Jiu family to take revenge on me? I was amused to laughter by his self-importance. Pei Jingheng, you think far too highly of yourself. Whether I marry or not, what is it to you? Just because I left you, does that mean I, Shen Mingyue, deserve to spend my remaining years alone with a prayer lamp and Buddha? As if he couldn't understand human speech, he gazed at me with what he thought was deep devotion and persistence. I'll divorce Ava Corporation immediately. Wait for me to come back and marry you. I dismissed it as utter nonsense. Just as I was about to send him away, a cold, authoritative voice sounded from behind me. Editor Pei. Li Xuanjin stood not far away. I didn't notice when he'd arrived. His expression was calm, but his gaze pressed down on Pei Jingheng like a physical weight. Harassing the princess here and spouting wild claims. What kind of conduct is this? His voice wasn't loud, yet it carried an undeniable sense of oppression. If you find the position at the Hanlin Academy too idle, I wouldn't mind having a word with the Ministry of Personnel. There are plenty of posts available for external appointments. Pei Jingheng's entire body stiffened, the color draining from his face in an instant. His lips trembled a few times, but in the end, he didn't dare say another word. He hastily performed a bow and fled in panic. I let out a sigh of relief. Thank you, Your Highness, for getting me out of that situation. Li Xuanjin's gaze fell upon my face, his eyes deep and inscrutable. He was silent for a moment, then suddenly spoke, his voice devoid of any discernible emotion. Thinking of getting married? My heart suddenly skipped a beat, as if something had lightly bumped into it. Feeling inexplicably guilty, I lowered my eyes and replied vaguely. The elders at home arranged it. He gave a soft, and didn't press further, but his gaze still lingered on me. Finally, his tone returned to its usual gentle indifference. The Gu family, not bad. With that, he turned and left. I stood there, watching his departing figure, an absurd thought vaguely emerging in my heart. I quickly suppressed it. He is the crown prince, the future sovereign. How could that be possible as midsummer approached? The palace held a lotus viewing banquet. As a county princess, I was naturally invited. The banquet was set at the water pavilion by the tide pool. personally hosted by the Empress, with noble young ladies from various families gathered together. My status is different from the past now. Even if there are scrutinizing gazes, no one dares to come forward and provoke me. I caught sight of Li Lingxi. She sat alone in a corner, looking much thinner than before. I was about to approach her, but she turned her face away, deliberately avoiding my gaze. I didn't understand why, feeling melancholy in my heart, but knowing this wasn't the right moment to talk, I could only suppress it for now. The most eye-catching person at the banquet was none other than Su Wanqing, the legitimate daughter of the Minister of Personnel. She had a reputation for talent, with a beauty that could topple nations. When she painted before the crowd, her brush moved like dragons and snakes, completing a shimmering lotus painting in an instant with profound artistic conception, drawing praise from everyone present. I heard the young ladies beside me whispering, mentioning that the Crown Prince would soon select a consort, and she was the most popular candidate for Crown Princess. I quietly looked at her, indeed stunningly beautiful, and with the Crown Prince, they were quite a match. When the grand banquet ended and I was about to leave, I was stopped by a female official at the Empress's side, inside Kuning Palace. The Empress treated me very warmly, full of praise. Finally, she subtly changed the topic and said with a smile, "I heard you're betrothed to the young master of the Jiyu family. I'm happy for you too." Then she had someone bring forth a brocade tray containing a set of pure gold and ruby headpieces, shimmering brilliantly. "This is my wedding gift to you." My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately bowed and declined. "Your Majesty's kindness is too generous. This subject's daughter doesn't dare accept." Right in the midst of this standoff, Li Xuanjin arrived in hasty steps, not even waiting for the palace attendants to announce him. His gaze swept over me swiftly, and that hint of urgency from before faded away. "Mother, why have you summoned the princess?" The Empress's smile remained unchanged as she said gently, "I merely heard that the princess is betrothed, and feeling happy about it, wanted to give her some trousseau gifts." Hearing this, Li Xuanjin's gaze fell on my lowered lashes, his voice calm and even, "If mother bestows a gift, accept it. There is no need to decline." My fingertips curled slightly. Without raising my head to look at him, I only replied in a low voice, "Yes, thank you for your Majesty's grace." Afterwards, I found an excuse and respectfully withdrew. The palace doors closed behind me, cutting off the conversation inside. The Empress looked at her composed son and sighed softly. "Jinna, you're not young anymore. It is time to establish a consort, that child from the SU family. Her character, appearance, and family background are all excellent. She is the most suitable choice." After a moment of silence, Li Xuanjin's voice came, revealing not a trace of emotion. "Your son understands. I'll leave everything to mother's arrangement." After returning home, I ordered someone to put away that set of jewelry, things that don't belong to oneself. Just then, an 800 Li urgent military report tore through the capital's peace. The Qiangdi had invaded the border, consecutively breaching Yunzhou and Lanzhou. The frontier was in crisis. According to the urgent report from the border, the Qiangdi tribes had suffered the worst drought in decades this year. Pastures withered in vast stretches, cattle and sheep lay dead everywhere. The nomadic tribes who couldn't survive had no choice but to turn their gaze toward the fertile borders of Great Yu to the south. And the Golden Throne Hall, the emperor flew into a rage and immediately issued an imperial edict to dispatch troops. Li Xuanjin volunteered to lead the campaign, and the emperor approved before the army could move. Provisions had to go first. The Ministry of Revenue was immediately thrown into chaos with everyone scrambling. Ji Yu Linfeng volunteered to take on this task. What others saw as a dangerous affair, he saw as an opportunity. Upon hearing this news, I immediately pulled up the system screen. The light screen flickered, countless options appearing before my eyes. Steel crossbows, armor-piercing arrows. These things couldn't be brought out rashly. My mind turned, and my finger pointed to other options. Portable monocular telescope, XWOO, with instruction manual exchange. BAT endpoints. High efficiency, compound wound medicine, XE10. Exchange E10 points, detailed records of border geography, including Changdi tribe, water sources, and trail markers exchange. Yolin points, gold thread soft armor XR. Exchange. All lean points. Exchange successful. Current point balance. Yara bar lean. Fortunately, my reserves were now abundant. Such a lavish exchange was merely like drawing water from a lake, causing no real damage. I carried the heavy rosewood box to find Jiyu Linfeng. Just as I rounded the corridor, I spotted a familiar figure in crimson hastily emerging from the study. Feeling she looked up and saw it was me, her eyes full of panic, stammering. I just happened to pass by, Mingyu. Don't get me wrong. Her voice grew smaller and smaller, and before her trailing tone could even finish, she lifted her skirt, buried her head, and quickly ran away. I watched her retreating figure, a trace of thoughtfulness floating in my eyes. I stepped into the study and caught sight of Gu Linfeng staring blankly at a piece of soft armor, not even noticing when I walked right up to him. I cleared my throat lightly, and he suddenly snapped back to reality, hastily tucking the soft armor into his sleeve, his face showing some awkwardness. Why are you here? It seems there is already someone who cares more about cousin's safety than I do as his cousin. Jiu Linfeng immediately clutched his chest, putting on an exaggerated show of being touched. What are you saying, cousin? Your sentiment I naturally... Cut the nonsense. I lifted the box lid, revealing the neatly arranged items inside. Let's talk business. These things must be passed to the Crown Prince. He picked up a telescope and tried it out, looking through the window, his hand suddenly trembling. This is a strategic military treasure. Where did you get this? Father's old belongings. I lowered my eyes, brushing over the sheepskin map in the box. Foreign tribute captured in the northern frontier back then. Thought they'd never see the light of day. Didn't expect they could actually be put to use today. Seeing him about to touch those two golden silk soft armors. I closed the box lid. Since someone has gifted you treasure armor, these two. Gu Linfeng hastily snatched them over. Things that have been given away. How can there be any reason to take them back? Wearing all 3 layers is safer. I glared at him. Your greed knows no bounds. This armor was originally meant to be presented to the Eastern Palace. However, since Li Lingxi had already gifted the golden silk soft armor to Gu Linfeng, the Eastern Palace surely wouldn't lack such protection even more. Gu Linfeng accepted without hesitation, then even more reason not to take it back. I'll definitely deliver it for you. I looked at him, my expression taking on a more solemn air. Cousin, you must be careful on this trip. The army departed soon after, unknown to anyone. I also quietly packed my things and followed along to the northern border. Those items that could be presented under the pretext of father's relics had all been entrusted to Jiu Linfeng. Only those shocking and unprecedented objects required me to personally go to the border and act according to circumstances. The battle situation at the northern border was more brutal than imagined. The Changdi people, unable to survive, due to a great drought on the grasslands, attacked the city with complete disregard for their lives. They were naturally fierce and brave. Though the Great Yu soldiers were well trained, they could hardly withstand such a desperate fighting style and retreated repeatedly. To turn the tide of battle, Li Xuanjin personally donned armor and took to the field, with the Crown Prince personally at the front lines. The soldiers' morale soared greatly, and they finally fought desperately to recapture one city. But no one expected the Changdi people to be so cunning. They took border refugees hostage and forced children to poison the upstream water source. In just 2 days, a large number fell in the Great U military camp, and even the civilians outside the camp couldn't escape. I had just arrived at the northern border when I saw devastation everywhere. Before I could exchange for antidote potions, I suddenly heard horns blaring urgently from the city walls, and the people throughout the city immediately cried out and fled. The Changdi are attacking, run. Beacon fires suddenly blazed on the city walls as Changdi cavalry descended like dark clouds. These steppe warriors, driven mad by drought, had bloodshot eyes and climbed the city walls holding crude wooden shields, roaring like beasts from their throats. The defending soldiers had clearly been fighting bitterly for days, their quivers nearly empty, their rolling stones exhausted. Some gripped steel blades with chipped edges, trembling all over, yet still stubbornly blocking the battlements. "Bring me a bow." Li Xuanjin's voice was exceptionally clear amid the sounds of beacon fires. He had somehow already ascended the city tower, his silver armor stained with blood, personally drawing a 3-stone heavy bow. The arrow shot through the air, precisely piercing the throats of 3 Changdi centurions. "Sons of Great Yu," he cast off his blood-stained cloak, sword pointing outside the city. "Behind us are our parents, wives, and children. Today, we can only fight to the death." Under violent impacts, the city gate let out tremors of unbearable strain. The defenders futilely braced the gate with their bodies, and people continuously collapsed, vomiting black blood. "Your Highness, leave quickly." The guard pulled at the Crown Prince's sleeve. "The city gate is about to break." The Crown Prince cut off the pulled sleeve with one sword strike, his blood-stained sword stabbing into the ground with a thud. "I will stay right here, not retreating a single step." Boom. The city gate burst open with a thunderous crash, and the ferocious faces of the Changdi soldiers became clearly visible. At this critical moment, 3 thunderous claps exploded. 3 red-coat cannons slowly advanced on their wheels, Qingyan rising from their dark muzzles, the violent blast wave shattering the Changdi vanguard, both men and wood in tow pieces. "Heaven's punishment has arrived." I shouted loudly, "All who violate the Great Yu's territory shall be reduced to dust." The Changdi people had never seen such thunder-like weapons before. Their formation fell into chaos. Their previous momentum completely collapsed, and they fled in all directions. The garrison troops who were preparing to die were all stunned. Li Xuanjin's gaze fell upon me, full of disbelief. After a brief daze, a captivating radiance immediately burst forth from his eyes. "All generals, hear my command. Full army, attack." Right at this moment, thick smoke rose to the sky from the Changdi camp. The Crown Prince's surprise attack team, relying on telescopes and that detailed record of border geography, infiltrated behind Changdi lines and burned their provisions in one stroke. Attacked from front and rear, the Changdi army retreated in panic, their abandoned helmets and armor stretching for 10 li. The surviving defenders embraced and wept, their hoarse cheers resounding across the city wall. Leaning against the scorching cannon barrel, I finally let out a long breath of relief. Below the city gate tower, Li Xuanjin looked up at me. His blood-stained face was blurred in the twilight. Only those eyes were startlingly bright. We gazed at each other across the gun smoke, and cheers as if something was silently surging through the sweltering air. Suddenly, his body swayed, and he collapsed straight to the ground. "Your Highness!" The cheers above and below the city walls came to an abrupt halt, instantly descending into chaos. With Li Xuanjin's collapse, the army immediately fell into disarray. He had been poisoned. Earlier he was just forcing himself to hold on, not daring to fall. I exchanged sufficient antidote from the system and ordered it distributed to the poisoned soldiers. In less than half a day, There were no more agonized groans in the military camp. Only the Crown Prince still remained unconscious. In the deep quiet of night, I kept watch by his bedside and quietly exchanged for the full body scan function. A pale blue halo slowly swept across his pallid face as a mechanical voice sounded in my mind. Detection target, Li Xuanjin, toxins cleared, vital signs stable. Current status, deep sleep, severe bodily energy depletion detected. Continued rest recommended. So he was just utterly exhausted. I breathed a sigh of relief and was about to leave when my wrist was suddenly seized. He still had his eyes closed, brows tightly furrowed, fragmented whispers spilling from his thin lips. "Don't go." I hurriedly struggled, but he gripped me so tightly that I couldn't break free for a moment. I looked around furtively like a thief, only relaxing after seeing no one else was in the tent. Later, I somehow fell asleep. I dozed lightly by the bed, and when I woke up, I met a pair of unfathomably deep eyes. I didn't know how long he'd been awake, but his gaze was fixed on my sleeve that had slipped down. The two red moles side by side on my wrist were especially clear in the morning light. I hastily pulled down my sleeve and stood up. "This subject has been improper. Please forgive me, Your Highness." But he suddenly asked, "Last year in the 3rd month, at the palace's 100 Flowers banquet, did you attend?" My heart suddenly jumped. That banquet was when I was schemed against and muddle-headedly consummated the marriage with Pei Jingheng. It was also that time that I had that child who never came into this world. Yes. I lowered my head and eyes, my fingertips slightly cold. His eyes darkened, and just as he was about to ask more, the tent curtain was suddenly swept open. "Mingyue, they said you came, and I still didn't believe it." Gu Linfeng rushed in like a gust of wind, pressing his hands on my shoulders and looking me up and down. "Those 3 divine cannons were really brought by you. Where did you get them from?" I lightly coughed and stepped aside to clear the view. Only then did Gu Linfeng see the Crown Prince, who had woken up on the bed and hastily bowed. "Your Highness, you're awake. Are you feeling much better?" Li Xuanjin's gaze swept over the hand he had just placed on my shoulder, his voice indifferent. "I won't die." Gu Linfeng was so frightened that he waved his hands repeatedly. "Your Highness is blessed by heaven. You absolutely must not say such inauspicious words." Li Xuanjin's face was as dark as water. The atmosphere in the tent was strange, and Gu Linfeng inexplicably felt a chill on the back of his neck. How did he offend this master? It wasn't until the imperial physician entered to check the pulse that the stalemate was broken. "The remaining poison in Your Highness's body has been cleared, and the people in the city have all recovered as well. The medicine sent by the princess is truly divinely effective." Li Xuanjin leaned against the couch, his gaze falling on me. "This miraculous medicine, is it also General Shen's legacy?" I lowered my head and stared at the cracks between the blue bricks. "Yes, General Shen truly left behind quite a few treasures." I laughed nervously with a guilty conscience, but then heard him change the subject. "What about those 3 red-clothed cannons, obtained through maritime trade?" I secretly felt fortunate that I had prepared early. Previously, I had strongly advocated opening maritime trade precisely to give these treasures a legitimate origin. Li Xuanjin's gaze suddenly swept toward Gu Linfeng. "Minister Gu, I heard the merchant ships are jointly operated by you two. But regarding this cannon matter, you seem to be completely unaware." Gu Linfeng answered, "Honestly, I truly did not know." I hastily took over. "This batch of ships just arrived at port yesterday. Cousin hasn't had time yet." Li Xuanjin said meaningfully, "I see." Seeing he no longer pursued the matter, Gu Linfeng and I hurriedly took our leave. After leaving the tent, I asked in a low voice, "How are you? You weren't injured, were you?" Du Linfeng patted his chest nonchalantly. I don't need to be on the battlefield myself. It is fine. Besides, don't I still have the golden silk soft armor you gave me for protection? Just at that moment, a personal guard lifted the curtain and entered. The draft blew our conversation word for word into the tent. Cough, cough. Inside the tent, Li Xuanjin suddenly choked and coughed. Medicine spilled onto his inner garment, and the outline of the golden silk soft armor clinging to his skin was fully revealed. An oppressive aura instantly enveloped him. So it turned out, this so-called token of affection was not exclusively his alone. Years of warfare had left the border city devastated. As Gu Linfeng and I walked among the ruins, we could see gaunt and sallow faced common people everywhere. A child crouched beside a collapsed roof beam, carefully picking up scattered millet grains. The common people on both countries' borders are actually all fighting for a bite to eat. Ji Linfeng sighed softly. The Changdi grasslands suffered a drought. That is why they're desperately attacking southward. I felt deeply uncomfortable. A vague idea arose, but with many concerns in my heart, I remained indecisive. Several days later, Changdi invaded again, but retreated in panic under the roar of the red-coated cannons. Watching the dust rising outside the city, I finally firmed up my resolve. I went to request an audience with the Crown Prince. As I lifted the curtain and entered the tent, I froze in place. The figure with their back to me turned around, and it was actually Li Lingxi. She looked travel-worn and had grown even thinner since the last time we met. Lingxi, what are you doing here? I was worried about Crown Prince cousin, so I came. Li Xuanjin glanced at her coolly. Her eyes flickered as she hastily stood up, her sleeve knocking over the teacup. I'll go arrange my luggage first. Watching her retreating figure, I already had a guess in my heart. But right now, the important matter took priority, and I couldn't concern myself with other things. Your Highness, this subject has something to report. Speak, I said earnestly. This subject has a method that can make the Changdi beg to submit. A captivating light suddenly ignited in his eyes. Is this truly so? I said with certainty. I absolutely dare not speak falsely. I discussed with him in detail until late into the night. 3 days later at midnight, Changdi death warriors climbed up the city wall under cover of darkness. Just as they were about to leap onto the battlements, torches around the altar suddenly blazed bright. I stood upon the high platform in snow-white ceremonial robes, my face painted with flowing cinnabar totems, looking like a deity in the firelight. You lot, how dare you offend the heavenly might again? The system exchange megaphone had an astonishing effect. The amplified voice rolling across the battlefield like thunder. The Changdi soldiers about to launch their assault had their movements halted by this cloud-splitting, rock-shattering sound. Chieftain Wumuja raised his blade and roared furiously, pretending to be spirits and ghosts, men, follow me and kill. Heaven sends down sweet dew. I swept my wide sleeves, and the system rain package activated in the clouds. The torrential rain poured down, and the cracked earth was instantly soaked by the rainfall. The Changdai people were stunned. Even the great Yu soldiers stood there in a daze. Everyone forgot about the killing, only tilting their heads back, opening their mouths greedily savoring the long-absent sweet dew. Rainwater slid down Wumuja's fierce face. He gazed at the reviving vitality of the withered yellow grassland, the curved blade in his hand trembling slightly. My voice was filled with compassion and temptation. Submit to great Yu, and I shall grant you a way to live. Talk about a power move. She stands on a city wall, dressed like a deity, and literally controls the weather to stop a war. She uses technology, a megaphone and rain seeds, to terrify an invading army into submission. It's theatrical, it's manipulative, and it's brilliant. She doesn't just defeat the enemy, she converts them into trading partners. This moment cements her status not just as a wealthy merchant, but as a legendary figure capable of altering the fate of nations. Her ex-husband is playing house. She is playing God. Wumuja's whole body shuddered. The Changde's military morale was completely shaken at this moment. This rain will fall for 3 days. I looked down at the enemy troops. If you still remain obstinate after 3 days. The ceremonial robe flapped loudly in the wind and rain. You will be cutting off your own path to survival. The rain continued for 3 days, and the cracked grassland showed new green again. At the break of dawn on the 4th day, the leaders of the Changde tribes removed their armor and unsheathed their blades, kneeling before the city gate. Wumuja raised the gem-encrusted curved blade, passed down through generations above his head. I beg the Divine One to grant my people a way to live. From this day forward, I stood in white robes, bathed in light. You shall all be subjects of great you. Inside the negotiation tent, the ink on the submission document barely dry, I poured the seeds exchanged from the system into a clay urn. These are alfalfa and drought-resistant highland barley. Scatter them on the rain-soaked land, and by autumn you'll get 10 times the harvest. Wumuja's hands trembled slightly as he held the pottery jar. Then, right now, it is the lean season. In 3 days, the border market opens. Li Xuanjin's black armor reflected the morning light, his tone resolute and firm. Trade cattle and sheep for grain and fodder. Trade war horses for medicinal materials. On the day the border market opened, the sounds of camel bells and horse neighs shook the heavens. Gu Linfeng clung to the tent entrance, watching the bustling traffic outside, his eyes nearly falling into the merchant caravan's money boxes. Look at that. Top-grade Chang flutes and war horses for our tea leaves. 3 horses can match a courtyard residence in the capital. And those wool felts, he excitedly tugged at my sleeve. Cousin, if all the tax revenue from this border market goes into the Ministry of Revenue, look at your petty ambitions. I swatted away his flailing hand. All you think about day and night is money, money, money. You don't love money. He leaned in and squinted at me. Then who was it staring at the account books and working the abacus until the 3rd watch a few days ago? What I was checking wasn't account books. It was clearly the points flowing out like water in the system. Red Cannon XN, Sen points, full body scan, E10 points, antidote, Wu10 points, portable amplifier, Arlene points, artificial rain enhancement agent, Wu10 points, drought-resistant grain seed package, Wu10 points, wool spinning technology improvement manual, Sen 10 points, dairy processing technology, Lounce 10 points, this trip to the border had cost over 50,000 points, leaving a point balance of only Tilio Sarline. Fortunately, the reward for resolving the border threat was generous. Otherwise, I'd really be so heartbroken, I couldn't sleep at night. Jiu Linfeng lowered his voice again. Seriously, that rain, can you really summon wind and rain? I coughed lightly. Heavenly secrets must not be revealed. What heavenly secrets? Li Xuanjin's voice suddenly rang out. He stood with his hands behind his back in the shadow of the tent, his gaze scraping like an icy blade across the overly close distance between us. Li Lingxi also stood at his side, watching us with a dark expression. In that instant, I had the illusion of being caught in bed with someone when clearly Jiu Linfeng and I are the engaged couple. This subject will go count the tax silver. Jiu Linfeng slipped away along the tent curtain. Li Lingxi's eyes darted around. I'll go take a walk outside. In the blink of an eye, only Li Xuanjin and I remained. He stared at me. You still haven't answered the earlier question. These past few days of divine miracles, how do you explain them? I feigned composure. Has your highness ever seen the boat people by the sea observe the sky? I pointed toward the stratocumulus clouds on the horizon. They've passed down through generations. Red sky at morning, sailor's warning. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Actually, the Changdi herdsmen have similar proverbs. Li Xuanjin followed my gaze and saw the cloud layers arranged in a fish scale pattern. Before ascending the platform that day, this subject observed a celestial phenomena for 7 consecutive days. I took out a roll of yellowed animal hide from my sleeve. This is a Changdi star chart my father seized years ago, combined with the Bureau of Astronomy's weather records. I calculated that rain would definitely come in 3 days. He took the animal hide and examined it carefully. It indeed bore a unique star and moon mark. As for the method of amplification, I directed his gaze to the fur stall in the corner of the trading post. The Chang flute people make horns from wild buffalo horns that can carry sound for 10 li. I merely imitated their principle and made slight improvements using copper tubes. The evening breeze stirred the copper bells before the tent, and he suddenly chuckled softly. Star signs, horns, and General Shen's relics that always appear at critical moments. His dark cloak billowed in the twilight. I do hope all of this truly is the will of heaven. My palm grew damp. I naturally knew that my previous actions had already aroused suspicion, but with starving people everywhere along the border, it was truly hard to stand by and do nothing. This risky military move was a gamble on his benevolent heart, a bet that he would prioritize the livelihood of the common people, even if there were still inexplicable and unclear matters about me. I figured he would prioritize the bigger picture and refrain from investigating further. For now, he indeed didn't pursue it further, and instead said, I have already petitioned the throne to confer upon Wumucha the title of King of Returned Righteousness. The children of his tribe may enter the Imperial Academy to study the classics of the sages, and another 100 craftsmen will be dispatched to teach the arts of kiln firing and weaving. Upon hearing this, my eyes lit up instantly, and I clapped my hands in admiration. Your Highness is wise. To nurture the borderlands with culture and education, to nourish the people's livelihood with craftsmanship. This is truly the path to lasting peace and stability. I promptly presented 2 silk scrolls. Your subject has here methods for wool textile improvement and dairy processing, which can teach the Changdai people to weave wool into brocade and process cow's milk into cheese. With the value of goods multiplied, they will naturally be able to live and work in peace. Li Xuanjin said with an ambiguous smile, also relics of General Shen. I was carefully choosing my words when he had already turned to look at the cooking smoke outside the tent. Once border affairs are settled, we'll return to the capital shortly. His voice suddenly became calm, his eyes full of solemnity. I have an important matter that needs to be discussed with the princess in detail. His gaze made my heart suddenly tighten. What could he want to discuss with me by the time we returned to the capital? Fine snow was already falling in the northern border. Ding resolved a century-old border trouble. Promoted ethnic integration. Reward points. Yaolini points. Current total points. Yaozi Liu Si Arlin points. 100,000 points. This haul was totally worth it. Li Lingxi and I shared a carriage. Looking up at the person sitting across from me who kept her eyes lowered without speaking, I finally spoke. How long are you going to keep avoiding me? Her fingertips clutched her handkerchief tightly. My engagement with Guyu Linfeng is fake. I stated directly. It will be dissolved after returning to the capital. She suddenly raised her head, her eyes filled with shock. I told her all the inside details, and Li Lingxi's mood visibly improved. She returned to her usual boisterous manner. Why didn't you say so earlier? I looked at her leisurely. If you want to blame someone, blame those who set their eyes on a man, but act all coy and secretive, not treating me as a friend at all. Li Lingxi's face instantly turned red. I thought you two. I snorted with laughter. I wouldn't be interested in someone like him. Li Lingxi immediately defended him. He is actually really good. I listed his flaws one by one. He is incredibly stingy, haggling over a flatbread for half a quarter hour. Li Lingxi immediately retorted, "That is being budget conscious. You don't know that just yesterday he paid out of his own pocket to get winter clothes for the wounded soldiers. Me, he is a money grubber. Even with military grain transport, he calculates the return trip with empty carts, insisting on bringing back Western region spices to sell on the way back. Li Lingxi, that is making the best use of resources." I clicked my tongue twice. Love really does make people blind, just like I was back then. Li Lingxi looked disdainful. "I'm nothing like you. You were truly blind, but I have a discerning eye for men." The two of us bickered all the way, the atmosphere warm and pleasant. No one expected that disaster would strike at this moment. Suddenly, a sound of cutting through air came from outside the carriage. "Assassins, protect Her Highness." Both our faces changed dramatically. Arrows rained down like raindrops. I immediately shielded Li Lingxi beneath me. The horses panicked. The carriage tumbled violently. Li Lingxi and I were thrown around dizzy and disoriented. Jiu Linfeng rushed over and rescued the two of us with difficulty. "Run. Hide in the forest." My gaze searched covertly. Pupils contracting sharply. Li Xuanjin's white horse had already fallen in a pool of blood, and that dark-robed figure was being besieged by over a dozen black-clad assassins. Guards fell one after another, the snowy ground soaking in dark red. "Don't do anything stupid!" Jiu Linfeng gripped my wrist tightly. "Going over there now is suicide." I turned my hand and stuffed a signal flare into his palm. "Take Lingxi to the beacon tower 3 li away for reinforcements." Having spoken, I spun and rolled toward the wreckage of the carriage. The system light screen flashed rapidly before my eyes. Exchange successful. Emergency shield Wu 10 points. Exchange successful. Instant smoke screen Liang 10 points. The moment the pale gold barrier lit up around Li Xuanjin, the assassin's blade eerily slid to the side. The guards seized the chance to counterattack, tearing open a gap for us. I pulled him up to run into the forest, but the endless stream of pursuers forced us to the cliff's edge. He blocked me behind him. "The one you want to kill is me. Let her go." His answer came in the form of poisoned crossbow bolts from all directions. They intended to turn us into sieves. Li Xuanjin's pupils contracted sharply. "Jump!" I grabbed him and leaped off the cliff. Exchange emergency parachute. Amidst the howling wind by my ears, the huge parachute burst open with a bang, and then we swayed and dangled, caught on a withered tree halfway up the mountain. Li Xuanjin's hair crown was askew, wedged between the branches, while my skirt hem fluttered in the wind. As our eyes met, he suddenly chuckled softly. "Every time the princess saves me, it is always so creative. This thing, is it also a relic from my late father?" Ah, that is not important. What is important is how do we get down. The two of us followed rock crevices and withered vines, and after much trouble, finally stepped onto solid ground in a disheveled state. I had just breathed a sigh of relief when I suddenly felt my palm sticky and warm. His black sleeve was already soaked with fresh blood, and the arm that had been around my waist was trembling slightly. He was injured. Helping him to a sheltered spot, I hurriedly took out the wound medicine I'd exchanged from the system. My fingertips had just touched the sash at his waist when his cold hand grasped mine. "Your Highness, this subject oversteps, but your injury is urgent." Not only did he not let go, he tightened his grip instead. There were some words he didn't want to wait any longer to say. "Last year in the 3rd month, at the palace's 100 Flowers banquet, I was drugged in the eastern warm chamber of Linuar Hall. A suppressed cough escaped his throat, and my breathing stopped in that moment. I was muddled by the drug, only remembering those pale wrists like frost and snow, with these 2 cinnabar marks adorning them. With a clang, the wound medicine in my hand fell to the ground. His gaze was extraordinarily bright, as if carrying a scorching temperature. The person that day was you. Impossible when I woke up. Pei Jingheng was clearly beside me. Before I could finish, I realized I had misspoken. His eyes suddenly lit up like snow. So it really was you. The hidden guard must have found someone to take the fall to protect your reputation. Afterward, that hidden guard was silenced, turning this matter into a mystery. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly. Lingxi said, "You were once with child. That child was ours, wasn't it?" My fingertips curled sharply, and the 2 cinnabar moles on my wrist suddenly burned hot. In the cold light reflected by the snow, I seemed to see that freezing night again, Lin Wan's triumphant smile, the crimson spreading beneath me, Pei Jingheng's words, "Better not to keep such a bastard child," so that child, by some twist of fate, carried his blood. But the child was already gone, and besides, it was just an accident. It couldn't change anything. I quickly composed myself, my attitude cold and restrained. "Your Highness, please allow this subject to apply medicine for you first." My coldness made him suddenly furious. "You're running away." He tried to get up, but I pressed him back against the rock wall, my tone brooking no argument. Getting back alive is what matters most. If we lose our lives, everything else is meaningless. I pulled open his sash and cleaned his wound with practiced efficiency. He kept his eyes fixed on me the whole time, his gaze burning into my skin like something tangible. After nightfall, he developed a high fever, and I had to wipe him down. As my fingertips brushed across his well-defined chest, he suddenly opened his eyes, his fever-flushed gaze locking straight onto me. "Now, you even know clearly how many scars I have on my body." Me. Just then, the sound of dry branches snapping came from the distance. We both held our breath until Gu Linfeng's anxious calls cut through the night. "Mingye, Your Highness." My face lit up with joy as I hurried out to meet him. Gu Linfeng looked me over carefully from head to toe, his face full of anxiety. "Are you injured?" I shook my head, and only then did he let out a big sigh of relief. Li Xuanjin was leaning against the rock wall, staring at him expressionlessly, his gaze more bone-chilling than the cold wind at the bottom of the cliff. A familiar chill crept up the back of Gu Linfeng's neck again. We were successfully rescued, and Li Lingxi came rushing over, lifting her skirt. She hugged me tightly, her tears soaking the fabric on my shoulder. "You're finally back. I was so worried about you." She turned her head and caught sight of Li Xuanjin being supported by guards, muttering softly, "Cousin, why is it always you getting hurt? You're really so frail." Li Xuanjin, thinking it over carefully, I couldn't help but smile. From the epidemic in Jiangnan, to the poisoning in the northern border, and now the assassination at the cliff's edge, this crown prince indeed always collapsed at critical moments. "Take care, Your Highness." I bowed respectfully and was about to take my leave when he gently grasped my wrist. "Once I've dealt with those petty scoundrels scheming behind the scenes." His gaze was profound. "I'll have a proper talk with you." Li Lingxi looked at the two of us, her eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. She wanted to gossip, but intimidated by Li Xuanjin's threatening gaze, she didn't dare overstep. Gu Linfeng stood beside me, muttering in a low voice. "No wonder the crown prince always glares daggers at me. Turns out he has long considered me a rival. Cousin, you're quite skilled at this." I gazed at the vermilion gates of the palace and said softly, "I won't marry into the Eastern Palace. The imperial family would never accept a remarried woman as crown princess, or even as a secondary consort. It is impossible. Moreover, I have no intention of sharing my husband with anyone else. The annulment of my engagement with Gu Linfeng went very smoothly. Grandmother's health had long been restored under my care, and seeing that neither of us was willing, she didn't force the matter. When Jiyu Linfeng and Li Lingxi's marriage was settled, the entire capital buzzed with excitement. One was an unconventional merchant prodigy, the other a beloved imperial princess. This pairing truly gave people much to talk about. I was genuinely happy for them. A woman as bright and radiant as Lingxi deserves to be cherished wholeheartedly. And Gu Linfeng, although he is a bit stingy, he is never confused about important matters. Moreover, when he looks at Lingxi, there is a tenderness in his eyes that he himself hasn't even noticed. That can't be faked. On this day, I had just come out of the newly opened Women Medicine Hall, pondering where to open the next clinic, when a familiar and annoying figure blocked the path of my carriage. It was Pei Jingheng. Yeah. He stepped forward urgently. I knew it. Your engagement to Gu Linfeng is just to spite me, isn't it? You still can't let go of me in your heart. I frowned and lowered the carriage curtain, signaling the driver to go around. But Pei Jingheng stubbornly blocked the carriage, his voice hoarse. Mingye, I've already divorced Lin Wan. How could that venomous woman compare to you in the slightest? Come back, and I'll have you carried through the door in an 8-bearer bridal sedan. From now on, you'll manage the Pei household, and Mother will never make things difficult for you again. I lifted the curtain and looked at him coldly. Pei Jingheng, have you lost your mind? I haven't lost my mind. I know you still have feelings for me. He looked at me stubbornly. You sacrificed so much for me. How could you just let go like that? You're only resenting me, blaming me for being deceived by Lin Wan back then. Now I've come to my senses. Yeah, let's start over. A shrill female voice suddenly tore through the air. Shen Mingyue, you shameless bitch! Lin Wan charged over from not far away, her hair disheveled, her face twisted. Gone was her usual delicate, willow-like demeanor. She pointed at my nose, eyes bulging with rage. You're already divorced, so why do you keep haunting cousin like a restless ghost? Pei Jingheng's face darkened. Shut up, you vicious woman. How dare you make a scene here? Get lost right now. Lin Wan seemed possessed, her voice growing even more shrill. Pei Jingheng, open your eyes and see clearly. Shen Mingyue betrayed you long ago. That night at the 100 Flowers banquet, she clearly fooled around with another man. Pei Jingheng froze, then furiously said, What nonsense are you spouting? Lin Wan shouted without restraint. That night I saw with my own eyes her entering the east wing of Linhua Palace. In a flash I saw another man being helped inside. The sounds from within clearly weren't you. Her fingertip pointed at Pei Jingheng like it was dipped in poison. Later I ran into you by the lotus pond, wanted to drag you to catch them in the act, but you vanished in an instant. By the time I went back it was too late, and you fool actually took responsibility for it. Pei Jingheng's face turned ashen. He suddenly looked at me. Impossible. When I woke up that night, clearly, it was nothing but someone pulling a switcheroo. Lin Wan's laughter was manic. Pei Jingheng, you actually cast me aside for such an impure woman. Truly laughable. Truly pathetic. Pei Jingheng's eyes were bloodshot red, his voice hoarse and trembling. Mingyue, what she said, is it true? That child was also a bastard from another man. I remained silent without explaining. I had no need to explain to him. A wild fury of being deceived rose in Pei Jingheng's heart. He suddenly raised his hand, about to swing it down at me. Shen Mingyue, how dare you? Let's see who dares. Li Xuanjin stood with hands behind his back, dressed in a black python robe, his gaze sweeping over the two like a cold blade. Who gave you the audacity to disrespect the future crown princess? The 3 words, crown princess, exploded like thunder, and Pei Jingheng and Lin Wan's faces instantly turned deathly pale. I, too, froze on the spot. Impossible. Pei Jingheng staggered backward. Your Highness, she is remarried. She even, the words stuck at his lips, too difficult to speak. Lin Wan shrieked. Your Highness, see clearly. She lost her virtue before marriage, was impure after marriage, and even carried a bastard. How can she be worthy? Insolent. Li Xuanjin sharply cut off her words, his eyes like icy daggers piercing toward Lin Wan. The bastard you speak of was my own flesh and blood, and you were the one who killed him. Lin Wan was so frightened by the murderous aura in his eyes that her whole body trembled, stumbling back a step, her face instantly pale as paper. Li Xuanjin turned toward the completely frozen Pei Jingheng. A pearl was right beside you, yet you were too blind to recognize it, discarding it like worn shoes, truly eyes without pearls. His warm palm firmly wrapped around my hand, his grip resolute. From this moment on, Li Xuanjin's voice rang clear and cold. You are no longer qualified to stand by her side. Pei Jingheng and Lin Wan left in a fluster. I also broke free from his hand with a jerk, my eyes avoiding his. Thank you for getting me out of that situation just now, Your Highness. He cut me off. I wasn't getting you out of a situation. Father Emperor has already bestowed our marriage. I suddenly raised my eyes, looking at him in disbelief. The royal family valued reputation above all. How could they accept a woman marrying for the second time? He seemed to see through my doubts and said slowly, I reported everything about the northern border to Father Emperor in full. The power of the red-robed cannons, the merit of resolving border troubles, the virtue of promoting new crops, the wisdom of expanding trade routes. Your achievements I did not conceal even half a bit. His gaze was burning, carrying undisguised admiration. Father Emperor said that you, as a woman, possess such breadth of vision and strategic thinking, allowing Great Yu's territory to be consolidated and the border people to be spared from suffering. Such capability far surpasses countless men in the court. I also said that with you by my side, with your wisdom and foresight, Great Yu's future territory could very well continue to expand, achieving the grand prosperity of all nations coming to pay tribute. He paused, his tone growing heavier. What Great Yu needs is a crown princess who can help the nation's power flourish and expand its territory, not an ordinary woman confined to the inner chambers, only knowing how to compete for favor and be jealous. He looked at me, his gaze clear and upright. Moreover, you and Pei Jingheng only have a nominal relationship. Father Emperor ultimately gave his consent. I listened quietly, still feeling a trace of reluctance in my heart, and said softly, Has your Highness ever asked me whether I'm willing? His gaze focused intently on my face, his voice slowing down. Then, Shen Mingyue, are you willing to marry me as my consort? I met his eyes and slowly shook my head. I'm not willing. Why? I'm not willing to share my husband with others. I said this sentence clearly and firmly. This was my bottom line. He showed no displeasure, but instead asked, Then do you know why I have delayed establishing a crown princess, and even made excuses to avoid the selection process? I was slightly stunned. This was indeed a question that had long remained unresolved in the capital. A trace of self-mockery flashed across his lips. Since childhood, I've felt emotions were like viewing through gauze. Those noble ladies, and even all people in this world, are to me like flowers in a mirror, moon in water. Being refined and courteous is merely the mask a crown prince should wear. His gaze suddenly grew darker, fixing on my face. Until I saw you, presenting remedies in Jiangnan, turning the tide in the northern border. Such vivid courage and conviction is the only thing in my life that has stirred my heart. He took my hand again, his grip gentle yet firm. The Shen family daughter, I saw at the palace banquet in childhood was timid and taciturn, completely different from who you are now. My heart skipped a beat. He smiled calmly. Who you are, where you came from. I don't care about any of that. I only recognize the Shen Mingyue of this moment, with unparalleled wisdom and a heart that embraces the world. The position of crown princess can legitimize all your ingenious ideas. Medical halls, agricultural affairs, things that benefit the people, you can pursue them all freely. His gaze was steady as a rock. I will be your most solid support. His words struck like thunderbolts, shattering my last defenses. So he had known all along that I was different, yet still chose to treat me sincerely and pave the way forward for me. In my days, warmth spread from the depths of my heart. Under his burning gaze, my ears grew warm, and I finally nodded gently. Later, I entered the Eastern Palace, and when Li Xuanjin ascended the throne, I was made empress. All members of the Pacey family had to kneel prostrate before the hall. I didn't make things difficult for them. Such people had long since become like passing clouds to me. Only Pei Jingheng, unable to bear the gossip in the capital, requested to be posted outside. I no longer hid my edge. The art of refined steel smelting forged invincible divine weapons for the great Yu cavalry. New crop rotation methods and improved farming tools caused the state granaries to overflow with grain. Precise sea charts and mighty ships helped our navy set sail far and wide, gradually bringing distant islands and overseas territories into our domain, opening unprecedented maritime routes. National power flourished daily, and military might spread far and wide. The territory of Great Yu, with my ingenious ideas, and Li Xuanjin's full support, continuously expanded its borders, ultimately becoming a glorious celestial empire that looked down upon the world and received tribute from all nations. Having read this saga of accumulation and retribution, if I were to summarize its essence, I'd give you two phrases: the economics of revenge and legacy over love. This story teaches us that the best revenge is the economics of revenge. Don't just leave him, out-earn him, outrank him, and outsmart him until he is nothing but a footnote in your biography. Mingyu shows us that liquid assets and political clout are far better comforts than a groveling apology. And ultimately, it's about choosing legacy over love. She builds roads, stops plagues, and expands empires. Her romance with the crown prince is merely a partnership between two powerful equals. She didn't need a savior. She needed a shareholder. So if you've ever felt undervalued, remember Mingyue, take your receipts, build your own empire, and never settle for a man who can afford your worth. If you enjoyed this masterclass in financial and emotional liberation, please do hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like if you think every divorce should involve a public audit of the husband's expenses. And tell me in the comments, what's the pettiest or smartest thing you've ever done during a breakup? Let us share notes below. Until next time, my lovelies, stay rich, stay ruthless, and keep your receipts. Ta-ra.